following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the season opener of the Major Series here live on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. We do apologize for the slight delay in getting going this afternoon, but the drivers are behind the iRacing first safety car, and just after the completion of the 24 hours of Daytona, we now have 2.4 hours worth of racing here in the Major Series. It's Will Vincent along with Connery Maddock for the first hour and a half, as well as Cameron Walsh. So we're going to get that ticker running along the top of your screen. It is sunset here at Daytona Beach, Florida. The drivers are almost ready to go racing. As we just have a look now, the pace car going to dance itself off towards pit road. We are ready to go racing. So welcome to the Major Series 2019 as the sun sets behind the grandstand. 2 hours and 24 minutes worth of racing is about to begin. There is a look at your prototype division just heading themselves through the first section on track, and now we can go back and see your GTE field doing exactly the same, followed very quickly by your GT3 field. And first of all, good afternoon, Cam. We're back again at Daytona, and the sun is setting behind the skies.
Yes, it is. And well, we just completed the 24 hours of Daytona. I wasn't there for the finish. It turns out I was unconscious. But no, we've got another great run here. Unfortunately, I have to do a slight apology.
Oh, we got troubles. Sorry, we just saw a Heisenfeld car having troubles very early on. So we're going to try and get ourselves a quick replay of that one. It was down in the middle part of your pack. It was in prototype. So let's have a look then from our aerial coverage as he's heading down onto the banking for the first time. And there we are. The Heisenfeld car just turned around. And well, early casualty, shall we say, in this one as we now go on board with the Heisenfeld car. It is Andre Rajkovic there as well. That's our first victim of this one, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. Early issues for Andre now, and it drops him all the way to the back of that Daytona prototype field. Not far off the back, though, as he's able to recover quite quickly and get back up to pace, but it's still going to be a race from behind from here on out for the driver of the 99. From what I can see in some of the other fields as well, they've gotten themselves started relatively clean in this one for the first race of this year's Major Series.
Yeah, let's go to the front of your field because one lap scored complete, 2 wide, 2 deep, Cam. This is what we expect in the opening hour at least because of just how potent that draft is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Heisenfeld machine having already taken a position away from Claude Belval in that Can-Am Racing Daytona prototype. Good racing in GTE. Good race as I did notice a Porsche deciding to take how would we say, a dirt rally, perhaps, line through the International Horseshoe. Lyndon Swaby, the number 100 machine of Kinetic, but they worked it all out. And as I was saying, I do have to apologize for everybody because I thought that this was a classic race. I can tell you that these are not GTP and GTO cars racing around.
No, they're not. As we will get live timing and scoring up for you in just one moment's time. So, in terms of this event, of course, we've had a look at the GT E-Field. We're going on board right now with a driver that's Jerome Kaiser. We know him. Yeah. We know him. We worked with him, of course, at the Porsche Sim Racing Summit, Conway, but in the Audi R8 LMS car, just heading himself down towards, and you can just see the sunset as well, towards the bus stop.
Yeah, exactly. Piloting now the RALMS, and Jerome Kaiser, of course, was the lead race administrator, race steward for the Porsche Sim Racing Summit. So we definitely know Jerome Kaiser very, very well. We know his sim racing stewarding's up to scratch, but his racing, that still remains to be seen here in the major series. Currently running in P number 6 here in class in that GT3 field. So running relatively well at this early stage. Everyone has been very, very calm and surprisingly calm this early on, considering it's only I guess I'm just going to say only 2.5-hour event at this point, considering what we've just had to go through.
Yeah, indeed, as we now have a look ourselves on board with Christian Rose, Ferrari GTE 07 car, the front of the field, dominated by Ferraris, Cam. We saw this in the 24 hours, but right now we've got 3 club CQR drivers, 1, 2, and 3 in GTE. David Baker leading the way, Christian Rose in second, Jamie Rushworth in third place, all CQR club.
Yeah, and David Baker is all warmed up. I mean, he was in the CQR car that was racing in the first split in the 24 hours of Daytona. So it's great to see him here now as well. And you're going to have to peek your eyes just a little bit back before you get to Ashley Blake Hood. That is your first running Porsche, which we didn't get to see many of those at the Daytona 24 hours, but here in the major series, as it's just enough time as Mikey Grenz in that V-Apex machine wants to get around the outside. Not going to happen going into the bus stop. And I will say it's good to see everybody having a degree of patience.
Yes, patience is the order of the game, even though, as Connery just said a moment ago, you know, it is going to be a little bit more intense, as we got out the front of your field a lot of intense racing. And we've got a car turned around as well. That is in your prototype field. Just trying to look back to see who that was. That was Dave Walsh, and that's an incident down at turn number 1. Replay for this one going to come up now into... realistically, it's turn 2 more it was in turn 1. Scoopsy Potatoes turned around there, Connery, and right now to the rear of your prototype field.
Yeah, pretty much contact with the car in front of him just as he was trying to wrestle an inside line away from, I think it was one of the Kinetic Racing cars ahead of him. There's Rajkovic there further back in the prototype field, who also had some earlier issues. So he's going to get some company here in this one. Gabriel Rusto, here comes the challenge maybe for the race lead over Joshua Wolf, who is currently leading this one in the Corvette C70 Daytona prototype class. And down into the bus stop they will go. So I'm going to conjecture that we're going to see a very similar situation here in this full 2.5-hour event as we saw in the last hours of the iRacing Daytona 24. It's a case of sizing up where you can get that run off the corner and get the pass safely complete, and try to prevent that pass back, that sometimes inevitable pass back.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's so easy to think, oh, GTE, GT3, it's supposed to be such a massive gap. Well, maybe not here at Daytona. The GTE machines they really have a lot more legs, as it were, in the corners. They're able to pull ahead. They're able to get more speed through the corners, better exits. Whereas it is one of those situations where the GT3 machines, they have pretty much the same engines that are pulling them along. You've got these high banks of Daytona that equalizes all these machines, and that means that that's why we didn't see a lot of Porsches, simply because the Porsches were actually in some instances losing distance to your GT3 machines down the stretch. And Joshua Wolf again up front is still defending over Gabriel Ruse. What I don't think we did see was that it was Gabriel Ruse and Matthias Magnussen of Kinetic. They were 1 and 3, with Joshua Wolf as he now runs a little wide on the exit of International Horseshoe 1, where Wolf went to the inside going through the bus stop. That caused Ruse to hit his brakes, and Matthias Magnussen, who was running 4th at the time, had to basically spin himself out, which has put him to the back of the field. So there's just so much going on right now. And also, just for even more entertainment, I suppose, for this prototype field, there's a lap car as Matthew Webb of the 73 machine is going to get swallowed up by these Daytona prototypes.
We just saw a couple of things happen on track. One of them was Mike McNulty. He has actually pushed himself now all the way down to the rear of the field. Mike Galti then down and out. He had an incident down at the bus stop chicane. What we've also seen is that in terms of your GTE fielders, Gabriel Ruse gets very wide, but gets a better run off of the bus stop chicane. We've seen your top 3 GTE cars, they have pulled away. So teamwork really is being the dream work right now, as Gabriel Ruse just having to run the outside line as they come towards the start-finish straight. The number 48 car of Joshua Wolf continues to lead the way past the stripe gap with 33 1,000ths of a second in towards turn number 1. Joshua Wolf able to hold on for the time being as there's more action going on behind. That is the number 72 machine of Darwin Mint, as well as Chris Santiso. They are involved in battles. Everything is going on track. We're trying to keep you up to date with as much action as possible. But come on, let's go back to what I mentioned a moment ago about GTE. Your top 3 drivers, all the same team, Club CQR, they've been able to pull out an advantage. Consequently, they've got 2.7 over P4, teammates working together.
Yeah, that is a really, really important point, especially at what is basically a draft track in Daytona. Just, take the infield out of the equation just for a moment. This is going to be a draft fest all the way around. And if you have teammates around you to try to work with, try to slingshot past each other, then that's going to be a much faster array around the race circuit than just staying in line and then lifting out every time that you get a run on the car ahead. We are riding on board with the front runners in your GT3 field, though, as we have a GTE machine just come off of pit lane there after getting a service done, so that's going to drop them all the way to the back, as we're with Russell Clayson right now trying to chase down Christian Challoner. Of course, Challoner is one of these multi-talented drivers that is fantastic in the NASCAR Peak Anti-Fee series. Also is very, very good at wheeling some of these GT cars around the circuit as well.
Side by side once again, on this time is the inside line will go to Gabriel Ruse. Can he hold the inside line and take the race lead away? The answer to that question is yes, he most certainly can for the time being. He did go a little bit wide on the exit of turn number 2, but now they all come back into line into the International Horseshoe, and now he has got that one done and he is pulling away for the time being. We've got more side-by-side battles going on behind in class. That is Aldis in the number 666 car, and it's going side-by-side with Eric Mickey as they've been going at it for the last couple of corners now. But as I said before, you have to kind of get into line once you go down into the kink. Talked about the issue of the top 3 drivers pulling away. Well, actually, Jamie Rushworth has fallen a little bit back from your leading duo now, Cam and Class.
Yeah, most certainly, and it's one of those constant situations where you're trying to hold on to the people in front and keep the people behind you, as this lead battle just continues to persist. As Ruse now on the inside, or the outside, Joshua Wolf on the inside, going through the bus stop. It's been interesting. We never really seem to see any action in the bus stop, at least in the 24 hours that the time that I was watching. Yet these guys they just seem to really want to make the passes work. through the bus stop here as this lead battle it doesn't seem to want to go away as Ruse now counters again on the outside.
Yeah, and this is the battle going past the start-finish line once again. This is going to be completion now of lap number 8. We are scheduled to do about 88 laps. That will probably come down with the pit stops to about 86 laps because of the amount of fuel that these drivers need to take. But side by side, and Wolf goes back to the overall race lead. Your top 5 drivers are in this train. And wow, that's a big moment there for Josh Wolf. That is second place lost as well. That could have been your top 5, almost eliminated Connery. Replay coming up.
Yeah, that had the potential to be an absolutely huge pileup involving all of your overall race leaders. You can see Roos on the outside, Wolf on the inside. Wolf able to get the run off the corner to secure the position, but too much curb coming onto the exit of the S's and then down in towards the International Horseshoe. Car just broke away right in the middle of the circuit. A little bit of a dooring with the Gabriel Roos though, but he manages importantly to keep it pointed in the right direction and able to file back in line, albeit in P number 3.
Yeah, and there was a tiny bit of contact right there between first and second place. Car turned around. Richard McClure is out. Let's zoom in. Sorry, he's not out. He's lost it in the V Apex machine. Let's get ourselves a second look at this one, Cam. So much action going on. We know action is heavy here at Daytona. This one's down into turn number 6 for Richard McClure, and he's falling to the rear now of your prototype field.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. That's going to slide him right on down, and you lose that draft. It's very not fun, as something is up with Joshua Wolf's machine. He went well to the very high side, riding up against the wall, and he has lost basically all of those positions that he was running with. So he has lost a 3rd position and 4th position, and maybe Joshua Wolf has said, you know what, if I'm not going to be able to fight for the lead, maybe I'm just going to sit back here and save fuel with more of a pit stop idea, which I guess is understandable, but it's only going to be a matter of time before we start getting to that GTE field, as it looks to me like the prototypes are rapidly approaching them, as the last GT3 cars are in the horseshoe number 2, just as the prototypes are entering. Yeah,
apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We did have RaceSpot TV live timing and scoring running, but just on the wrong address. You can check it out now, racespot.tv/timing. Keep up to date with your favourite drivers across all 3 of the classes throughout the course of this motor race. It is worth noting that Gabriel Roos has pulled out a 1.5, 1.7 second advantage. The draft at this point is no longer powerful. So Roos 2 more laps like this and he might be able to pull away, but he still needs to have a very good run over the next couple of laps. Let's go and check in terms of your GT3 field, and let's go on board with the driver of the number 25 Mercedes-AMG GT3. That is John Paquin. He's a driver, Connery, who for many years was one of the top drivers in the iRacing IndyCar series, of course now known as the NTT IndyCar series, and he made a transition a couple of years ago, got bored of running IndyCars, quite frankly, and now is running a lot of the GT races of things like the majors.
Yeah, it has been a while since I've seen his name on the iRacing broadcast. Of course, I'm not on the usual commentary team for this series, but he seems to be running very, very well in his GT3 machine at this moment in time, keeping the leaders very honest of Christian Challoner and Russell Clayson as well. So he's keeping himself within the thick of things here in these early stages, and it's not the case in the GT3 fields like it is in the prototypes right now, where the leader is starting to break away. These guys are still all very much together.
Yeah, and you've got your top 2 drivers, they are still line and stern in terms of GTE. They are, however, teammates. Ferrari seem to be ruling the roost here, and we are racing into the sunset, into dusk, and then into the night here in this 2-hour and 24-minute race. And what that means, Cam, is this track is going to change. It's going to get cooler, and what that essentially will mean is that you are going to be in a situation where you change things around.
Hold up here. It's already cool because we're here.
Well, yes, true. It's kind of getting to night time.
It's going to get colder. It's going to get colder because it's so cool because we're already all here. That's, you know, there's a slight difference, okay?
Yeah,
that's all I'm... Yeah, no,
it's like being in Finland in the daytime going to being in Finland at night. It's just going to get colder.
Yes, yeah. or if up here, because it's snowed like 8 inches in the last like day. So the track temperature expected, it should, the track temperature should drop down to maybe in the high 60s, whereas the air temperature will pretty much match the track temperature, mostly because without a giant heat lamp in the sun warming it up, it's just going to be based on what's in the air. So that's what's going to be interesting. It'll be fun, really, and it'll be great to see the sunset. I was able to see the sunrise with Tobias, Hi Race Spot Baby, as we were able to watch the sunrise. That was wonderful. Now we get to watch the sunset.
Yeah, indeed. Just to give you the update, by the way, I talked a moment ago, Gabriel Roux needing to get the advantage. He was able to do so through some traffic. Gap was up to 3.5. It's come down to 2.7 seconds currently, but the good news for him is he's caught a lot of this traffic on the banking, where it's far easier for these Corvette C7 Daytona prototypes to really make the move.
Yeah, the only problem that Gabriel Roux might have is that in the last stages of the race, when we come towards those sets of stops for the Daytona prototype field, is that he doesn't have the opportunity to feel safe behind anyone at this point. Everyone in the leading train behind him, apart from the car right at the front, is going to have that opportunity. So expect, especially when this first set of stops get done, some of those cars that were further back in the train for P number 2 actually get up and with Gabriel Roux.
It's worth noting we've got 2 David Bakers on the field today, Conway. We've got David E. Baker, who is leading the way in your GTE field, and David H. Baker, who is running in 8th place in our GT3 field. So David H. Baker, the number 33 car, we just turned our attention over to him because he was battling it out with Jerome Kaiser a moment ago towards turn number 1. He remains in 8th place.
Yeah, he does, and well, half a second behind his competitor right now. It is a battle of the manufacturers. The Audi trying to defend from the Mercedes AMG, and when we talk about the AMG, we had a good insight in the interviews for the Daytona 24 Hours that some teams really do prefer the security and the stability of the AMG Mercedes as opposed to sometimes the sketchy moments of the Ferrari, for example, that is more of a car that you can really just nail off the corner, and you can feel the car dance under you. The Mercedes isn't like that at all. It's solid as a rock.
Yeah, the Ferrari, I mean, they call it the prancing horse for a reason, Cam, and sometimes it acts like a horse being bolted out of the stables because it can be aggressive as a car to drive. Talking about a couple of drivers in your GTE field, we've got ourselves a Ferrari and a Porsche going side by side, and that is Riley Thompson in the Ferrari, Lyndon Swabby in the Porsche. They were going through turn number 1, turn number 2 side by side, but Lyndon Swabby is now back into P5.
Yeah, and managed to actually pull quite a gap from that over Valverde as Riley Thompson in that TDR machine was able to get on just a hair. Now, it's been good to see these Porsches here in the field. Surprisingly, not seeing any of the Fords, which makes my heart weep. But you know what? I'll enjoy these Porsches. I will say it's understandable that a lot of people went with a Ferrari. I personally like it. I drive it over the Ford as much as I hate to say that, simply because the Ferrari seems more like a souped-up GT3 machine rather than the Ford, which seems more like a prototype machine. But it seems to me that everyone is just trying to get themselves spaced out. I haven't seen anything really crazy since that first the first runs outside of our leading Daytona prototype field, and that's been good to see as the Daytona prototype field is working through GT traffic.
Looking on board with the driver of Mikey Grems in the Ferrari 488, number 453 car. We are just past 20-minute distance, and what it will be worth doing is just taking a moment, running through your top 8 in each of your classes. Of course, we do apologize again. We had a couple of issues which meant that we couldn't go to air as early as we had wished today. As give you an update that Ferrari and Mikey Grems gets past Shane Norton, moving up into 7th place in class. Let's start off with, well, this looks like we're going in backwards order. Let's start off with the GT3 field. You've got ourselves Christian Challoner leading the way, Russell Clayson second, John Paquin in third. These top 3 drivers are all running in the same 1 second bracket as each other. Clifton Naranjo in 4th place, David Van Broek in 5th place, Marcus Niskanen in 6th, Jerome Kaiser 7th, and David Baker rounding out your top 8. Connor, as it stands right now, you've still got your top 3 running almost nose to tail in that class, but no one really wanting to make the move, more maybe focused about doing some fuel saving.
Yeah, that's just what you're seeing out there on circuit right now. It's the early part of the stint, it's the start of the race, so we get to talk about not taking any risks right now. Those will have to come for later. This is just settling into your rhythm and finding your feet in terms of how the race is going right now. And you know, in this leading trio, it's you know, you got to resist the temptation of an open door to dive yourself down into, which is one of the hardest things as a racing driver. So anytime they're being patient like this, I actually see that as a benefit to their driving rather than them being scared.
Gabriel Ruse is leading the way in the prototype field by 1.7 seconds over Joshua Wolf. It's worth noting that the gap between Ruse and Wolf has come down by 1.5 seconds over the last 3 laps. So this one is far from over. And in fact, Wolf is pretty much now back in draft range. So this will make life more of a challenge for Gabriel Ruse. Diego Merlo in 3rd place in class. Chris Santiso in the 4th position. Timo Doika in 5th place, Pete Howard in 6th, Eric Mickey in 7th, and Matthias Magnusson in P number 8. And Cam, we talk about that 1.5 second bracket. Because the straight is so long, I say the straight, the oval flat out portion is so long here at Daytona, 1.5 you can still catch the back end of the draft.
Yes, and as I was watching Diego Melro, Timu Toika, Fat Timu, has bulged his way up into 4th position, and Chris Santiso is not a happy camper about it. He's flashing his headlights there as they have to get way on the binders, and they almost split around a Ferrari. But yeah, Timu Toika dove right to the inside through International Horseshoe, and I think it might have even done some door banging. So if you're wondering where Timu Toika is, he's sitting there. He's now moved up into 4th position. But yes, it's the draft. It can affect so much simply because if you look at say Diego Melro, he's having to switch lanes to go from the inside of one GT3 car to the outside of the David Van Broek Boostad Motorsport machine to then the bus stop. What happens a lot is that, yeah, you might have lost the draft of a Daytona prototype, but you're going to get that draft of a GT3 machine or a GTE machine, which allows you to start closing on that Daytona prototype. That's what makes it so entertaining and so interesting, because you don't really get this anywhere else. We don't really race Rovals in sports cars, at least to this degree, and that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, they've done once or twice in the IMSA series, or whatever it used to be known as before that, the American Le Mans series. We did show you the top 8 in terms of your GTE class. Just to give you an update on that one, David Baker leads by just almost a second now over Christian Rose. Jamie Rushworth third. Worth noting, all 3 of those drivers are from the same team. So 1, 2, 3 for CQR Club right now. 4th place, Lyndon Swabby. 5th place is Riley Thompson. Yao Valverde in 6th place, Mikey Grems in 7th, and David White rounds out your top 8. As the light just come on my desk, that almost blinded me for a moment there. So we are just, actually, what's worth noting is Gabriel Ruse at the front of your field, Connery, has got that gap back up now to 2.8 seconds. And again, he's been lucky. He's caught a lot of traffic on the banking here. Now, this saves him about half a second per car getting through it.
Yeah, exactly, and that is a really, really important timing matter for Ruse as to when he hits the traffic, and he'll even get the one ahead in the correct place as well. You know, I thought there was a car off on the side of the road there, but I think my eyes were deceiving me with the little bit of lighting artifacts. But Gabriel Ruse, again, catching the traffic in the exact right place they need to catch it. Around the outside at turn number 3 and 4, not impeded at all coming down into the bus stop that time, whereas the same could not be said perhaps for some of the further back prototypes that did catch it through there.
Yeah. As having a look through one or two of them, the gaps have spread out a little bit, but we've still got a good one as we go on board with Matthias Magnusson right now. Eric Mickey is just ahead, as we can see the two drivers going side by side towards the start-finish line. You've got yourself a big number of drivers in this event today. We started off with 50 of them, of which they are all running, albeit some are already multiple laps down. Matthias Magnusson not able to get that pass done over Eric Mickey, and they stay where they are. Let's go back though to GT3 Cam, because we've had a bit of a breakaway. Christian Challenger.
We've had a bit of a loop-de-loop by the 100 machine, the Kinetic Racing Lyndon Swaby machine, which was running in 4th position. And, well, understandably, it's on the exits of the inner road course, as it were, and you can see this all the time with mid-engine cars, especially, such as the Audi. So you put the engine a little bit further back, and understandably, the butt ends up sliding out, and he did end up taking some damage from a Ferrari.
Yeah, we've also got Mickey Grems versus João Valverde then. That is for P number 5 on track. But to go back to the point I was about to make to you, Cam, in terms of GT3, we now have a gap of 1.5 between Christian Challenger and Russell Clayson, as we also keep an eye out on this GTE battle, P number 5.
Yeah, most certainly, and it's as they're going side by side past the start-finish stripe. For Christian Challenger, I have a feeling that maybe perhaps that was some assistance perhaps by when that Daytona prototype field came through. They're going side by side through corner number 1 is Mickey Grems running that outside line. He'll end up having a slot in now in behind, yielding that position. Okay, yeah, sorry, he took about like 10.5 seconds, so despite the fact that it only takes 1 second to get to that corner to decide if he was going to attack or not. But to talk about the GT3s, I think the Daytona prototypes really assisted Christian Challenger in that. But I will say for Russell Clayson, he is finding himself all sorts of covered by John Paquin.
He is, as we're on board of Paquin right now, number 25, Mercedes AMG GT3 car, heading through the kink now, the left-hander, whilst also being passed by some prototype traffic right now. No, Siri, that was not a reason for you to start working on my watch. Paquin has actually dropped back as a consequence of this traffic, catching him at the wrong point, but also I think that he just saw how aggressive, that's exactly what I mean, Connery, how aggressive the prototype traffic was. I was thinking, yeah, I'm getting out of this in a minute.
Yeah, they're struggling to get their way by on what I believe is one of the GTE machines there, one of the Porsches, and Clayson has just had a, caused a good amount of trouble for one of the prototypes trying to make their way through. Paquin not really able to be close enough to try to capitalize on something like that. He was just waiting there and just biding his time as well, not wanting to also get similarly impeded by the prototype as it made its way through. So up on towards NASCAR bank in turn 3 and 4 for these guys. That gap will extend a little bit between Clayson and Paquin at this stage, and more importantly perhaps is now the gap between Challenger and Clayson, because Challenger has got himself a decent margin as well.
Let's have a look on board with Timo Toyka right now. He's in 3rd place. You can see that sun is almost now completely gone behind the grandstand. Timo Toyka, number 46 machine, Team Bush Pink Racing, Joshua Wolf in the number 48 car cannon. I mean, now the lights are on the track and the sun's disappeared, it actually becomes easier for these drivers to navigate than it was about 20 minutes ago, because that sun was actually creating a bit of distraction for some of these drivers.
It certainly can, as I did see John Roberts, who was trying to pass Lyndon Swaby, end up looping it on the exit of 1, but it is, with the sun going down, it makes it a little bit easier now, but a little more difficult in the future, because it will end up getting to be that point where you start losing your what's the best way I can say, your outward sense, because the daylight's gone and you're just driving by your headlights. Now, of course, during the oval, the overhead lighting is such good that you don't even need headlights. That's why the stock cars can race at night. So it's not that bad, but it's that infield that you really start losing your points of apex, where you really have to start trusting the car and trusting the go-throughs, which means that for a lot of these drivers, which I'm sure they've ran in the Daytona 24 hours, so I'm sure it'll be no problem for them. But what it does mean that can happen is a little bit of miscalculation could certainly be magnified simply because it is being dark, rather than if you was in the daylight, you would be able to perhaps save it easier.
Yeah, there's all the differences between a 3.4-hour race and a 24-hour race, except for the time, We're not really that pedantic. Is oh, we got a car turned around. That is Russell Clayson, and John Papin almost got hit. He did get side-doored by exactly the same car. Russell Clayson, big incident, Connery. Let's have a look and talk us through it.
This is one of your front runners, your second place runner in GT3, gets sent into the wall by one of the prototypes there. That is a major, major incident for Clayson down towards Timber number 1. We'll get another look at it on board with Clayson, and he was actually P number 1 at this point. Well, even though he did manage to get himself past Jussi and Chalmers, but that just as he takes the correct track entry point for turn number 1, all of a sudden a prototype is in his space, and he goes for a massive incident down the front straight.
Yeah, that's a number 91 prototype, and I'm trying to figure out.
Diego Melro?
Yeah, maybe 941. No, not the 941. There is a 91 car here somewhere. Big Diego Melro. Let's get another look then on board with him. This is the point of impact, and we're going to have one more look. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, actually, Connery. We'll take away this graphic just so we can see it clear. The point of impact. Where else can Mello go?
Yeah, that is the huge question. It's you know, it did happen very, very quickly, and I would say it's more of a miscommunication between the two cars more than anything else, as we will return to the live pictures. But you know, Clayson, Melro, both getting huge amounts of damage off of that one. Gabriel Roos has actually brought the car on towards the lane for the first time in this event, and that is going to be a scheduled stop for Gabriel Roos, as has happened in a couple of... Actually, he is going to be the first scheduled stop here in the entire LMP1 field. And that's because he was running on his own at the front, using the maximum amount of fuel possible. And now he's going to file out back in traffic.
Yeah, Timo Doika has closed up to the rear of Joshua Wolf. And this is the gap. It's half a second between them as they enter the real nighttime phase of this event. We're about half an hour, just over half an hour into this one as it stands right now, and you can see the sun is pretty much all but gone behind the grandstand. And what it does is it makes the Sunoco sign just look like a little bit more bright as they work through NASCAR turn number 3 and forward cam in towards the exit of NASCAR turn 4. And let's see, anyone coming on towards pit road? No.
No, not at all. And so Teemu Toika is, of course, your race leader, as it were, but Joshua Wolf, actually, I lied, has gotten past Teemu Toika. So Wolf has now resumed his lead after this pack is pretty much split up now, with the pit cycle starting for these Daytona prototypes. I think it's pretty smart. Come in early, do your short one first, then you can just get yourself sorted. I'm not sure if anyone is going to try to do a two-stopper, but it certainly is, I think, on the table. If you're good enough on fuel, I would just want to do 3 safer stops. That's just me. But for right now, the lead is getting pretty secured right now between Joshua Wolf and Teemu Toika, but I was going to say, outside, elsewhere in Daytona Prototype, I've been noticing that the elbows, as it were, are starting to come out, perhaps a bit of aggression between the cars. I did see Darwin Mance take a nice little bite out of the end of the rear of that Diego Melro car. That was the car that was involved in that incident with the Mercedes. As right now we're on board with the David Baker. Actually, we aren't anymore. We're not yet. There he is. So We were able to watch him cut through, and you're able to actually see that it's going to get a lot darker, Will, as I'm not sure, were you able to take us through into the sunset, or was that a different shift?
No, we weren't even there for the sunrise. We basically got bright daylight, did Connery and I.
Ah, you got the classic endurance experience.
Yeah, so we had our entire 6 hours in the daylight. We did see, and we did have a start-finish cam as we saw the drivers head into the darkness. It was on Facebook Live. I wasn't actually there for the stream. I was actually in IKEA, which is why when the stream went off for 20-30 minutes, it wasn't really easy for me to turn it back on, Connery.
No, it wasn't. No one home in that case, as Timu Toika having to deal with one of the many CQR Club cars at the front of that GTE field, and around the outside he'll have to continue at the second horseshoe and still have to try to fight with the GTE car for it. So that's Team Bushing Racing car getting themselves through. Has lost a little bit of time to Joshua Wolf here. 6.5 tenths of a second is the gap that Toika is having to deal with right now. And Cam brought up a point earlier about Gabriel Roos actually getting the short stop done early, and no one else, interestingly enough, has actually gone for that strategy. I think because everyone else is in some sort of prototype train right now, is that they'll prefer to fuel save rather than run on their own if they come down early.
You said hold on, Cam. What was your hold on?
I'm pretty sure a couple years ago, you had to have the camera up whilst I was doing solo update commentary thing. Were you also at an IKEA?
No, I was in bed.
Oh, you were in bed. Weren't you at a... Maybe it was a bar. I think maybe you were out. Because I remember you were out. But either way, I think you also restarted the stream whilst you were out. But, you know, things are easy to do now, though, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm sure... I'm surprised IKEA didn't have some kind of cheap but buildable thing to help you with the broadcast.
They did. We bought a brand new table for the 4K monitor, which has been delivered literally whilst Connery and I were on air. We probably heard, because let's be honest, Connery, that kind of doorbell is pretty loud.
Yeah, it is. We had a delivery live on air of a new 4K monitor for Mr. Will Vincent, and that will be put to very good use pretty soon, is all that we can say, as Michael Lane hits the pit lane. Yeah,
it would have been set up in the next 20 minutes or so. However, I kind of got asked very last minute to cover in commentary here today. So, unfortunately, 4K magic will not happen until tomorrow. Michael Lane, though, making his service. This should be about a middle service. He hasn't got any damage to the race car. That car, remember we had the car in the 24-hour race, which had the kind of test livery on it. Michael Lane's car is a bit similar in that you can't really see if there's any damage or not.
Yeah, it's really impossible to tell. I mean, it looks like it's been damaged already with the design on that one. I don't know if that's a roast on the actual design livery of the car, or I don't know what is going on there. But Michael Lane will finally exit the pit. I'm going to be done with the puns on his name right now, as he'll exit out in 15th place right now. So yeah, another early stop here for the prototype field. Everyone, well, most of everyone, the majority of runners in your prototype field still have yet to visit the lane, and it's just a case now of where will Gabriel Roos file out when they do decide to come down.
Let's go back and have a look at GTE for a moment, shall we, Cam? Because David E. Baker is leading the way. He's actually got the gap up now to 1.3 seconds over his teammate, Christian Rose. And, well, it did the early thing of getting away, pulling away. And all of a sudden, Baker's like, okay, I've done my hard work of keeping you guys behind me and helping pull you around the racetrack. I'm actually just going to go and turn some laps and pull out my own advantage now.
Well, it probably sounded a lot more like, you know, oh, well, we've got my gap, I might as well pull away now. Because I think is he Scottish? I think, is David Baker Scottish? No, all right.
That was not a good Scottish accent.
No, obviously, I know, I'm aware. I did it without practicing, and even if I did practice, it'd still be hot garbage. But I think he's either an Irishman or he's Wales or something. I don't remember. But yeah, we always end up talking to David Baker because the CQR team tends to do fairly well here in the Majors series. And of course, talking about the Major Series in a broader scope, if you're unfamiliar with the Major Series, there are 4 races on the docket for today in all sorts of different regions. This is probably the largest iRacing league in active service, I would suggest. Because you've got 4 full regions. You've got a U.S. region, an Asian region, Asian-Australian region, and the European region, etc., etc. And that means that there are that everybody is able to race their time slots. And the series as a whole will go to many different tracks every couple of weeks. And all sorts of different disciplines will, and that's kind of the big thing. Yes, we're seeing this race, the 2.4 of Daytona, which is obviously after the 24 hours of Daytona, but then we are going to be doing races like we're going to be doing a couple of hours in the GTP and GTO cars at Sebring. That's going to be fun. You've got the Copper Classic, I'm sure that will be coming back, which is Silver Crown. You've got dirt racing, dirt rally racing, perhaps. And it really is exciting. Oval racing, and all of these drivers put themselves to the ultimate test, which is the Majors Series, simply because there is so many things that you have to do, and really that's what makes the Major Series fun. Yeah, and also it's run by the same guy, Mike Oletz, who's in charge of looking after the World Cup of iRacing as well. So shout out to Mike for a lot of the big work he does in terms of supporting the iRacing community. Just noticing here on lap number 27 for prototypes, that means that their fuel tank is getting towards the empty phase. We expect to see pit party very soon.
Very soon indeed, and yeah, 50-minute fuel tank usually in these Daytona prototypes, and you can see most of everyone in the train that we were just watching angling themselves on the lane, and even the GT car that was ahead of this one deciding to come down in as well. So everyone for P number 1, P2, P3 right now is on the lane. We'll have to wait for Pete Harrod, Magnussen, Mika Melro to see if they decide to head their way in. We've actually had Pete Harrod stay out at least one more lap here, but the rest of almost everyone behind him has decided to come down in now, as Melro will actually stay out.
Yep, so we will hopefully get a graphic up on the left-hand side of your screen once people come out of pit road in a couple of moments' time. We've been looking on board with Timo Doika. Is he going to get the jump? The answer is going to be he does!
Ooh. That is so close. Doika manages to beat the car off of pit lane. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Nothing Joshua Wolf could have done about that. Just having a little bit of a look at the stop times, actually, because Doika and Wolf were, at least on our graphics, identical in their stop line. But the thing is, Doika is faster on the lane. Yeah, he gained 6/7 of a second. And Cam, a track like Daytona, in these cars, because it's not like trying to stop a NASCAR. These things have real brakes. So actually getting down to pit road speed isn't that hard, but there's still time to be gained and lost. Doika wins the first battle of the day. The thing for him now is he needs to pull out a big gap. He's got 8/10 of a second, so Wolf should probably still close him in this lap. Timo Doika with the race lead, needing to charge.
Yes, and I'm joined now by RaceBot Dog sitting on my lap. So Zoe, don't lick the keyboard, that's illegal. It's one of those situations where a lot of endurance drivers, they see this wide open pit lane entry. It's not like the exit where you have to swiggle and swaggle yourself around to get to the track. You basically just have it's almost too easy, as it were. You just have a wide open space, so it's really hard to find your bite point, as it were, and that's where Timo was able to get that gain. And here comes Joshua Wolf. Wolf is now in that torque-free car on the outside line, trying to go around Team Bushfink Racing as they go past the start-finish line here. And there's a GTE in front, a Porsche, and he will go to the inside, and they'll get themselves by.
Yeah, I want to have a look again at Timo Doika. Let's get a better angle as he comes towards the start-finish line, and that's not going to help. But you just see, he's in the left-hand lane. The lane opens for him, but he actually gets off the gas there, and just allows Joshua Wolf to go through.
Yeah, very interesting decision there for Doika, and You could see maybe perhaps he saw the danger with the GT car on the outside that might have caused a good couple of issues. We have had someone have a very short stop in your Daytona prototype field. That is excuse me, going to be the car of, well, is the car of Trevor Vorosky at the front of the field, and he only stopped in his pit box for 9 seconds there. So is that a combination of taking no tires but also taking the short fuel stint at the same time?
Cam?
Well, it is. I don't think that he came in to get the car repaired at all. He brought himself down the lane quite a while ago, back on lap 27 perhaps. But either way, he has come on through. So Vovorsky is now, of course, in the third position with Pete Herod and Diego Melero first and second. Nice. So Trevor might be trying to work his way through as far as strategy to get himself up in that Grizzly machine.
Yep, so just having a look through, and Trevor Vovorsky, we've got confirmation now, Connery, that he actually stopped 17 laps ago. There's a lot of traffic. Gabriel Roos right behind. These were the first 2 drivers to pit, and as a consequence of that, they are now at the front of the field. However, Josh Wolf is 6.7 seconds back. Now, there's a lot of traffic for these 2 drivers, and you can do the different option of taking your short stint first, but what it means is at the end of the race, when everyone's doing a fresh set of tyres and a short stint, you're the one lugging around a full tank of fuel.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting pretty late in the day here for us at Race Spot TV, and of course for the drivers out there as well. Some of these guys may have even competed in the 24 hours of Daytona, so they're really feeling the effects of fatigue, same as us here in the commentary booth. But right now, as they'll decide to go side by side with the GT car around the outside, coming through the exit of the NASCAR Turn 1 and 2 section. Still watching Timu Toitko. We're actually right on board with him because the gap has come down to 1.5 tenths of a second into the bus stop, and a bus stop is really one of those sections where you can really quote unquote abuse the track limits there. You can get a 1x without getting a slowdown penalty by cutting the curb a little bit too fine. So that is the strategy that a lot of drivers use around here to get those hot laps in.
Yeah. That awkward moment, because I'm using a headset all of a sudden instead of a normally directional way. I actually just started talking to Connery as if I was talking to the person sat next to me. Cam, let's go back and have a look in GT3 for a moment, because the gap between John Paquin and Christian Challoner is about 8 seconds on track right now.
That it is, as Race Spot Dog is now cleaning me. So I really hope that my microphone is not picking that up, but yet I know that that is good enough that yes, that's exactly what's happening. Anyways, so John Paquin, he has managed to grill this gap over Clifton Naranjo, which has been to not only his benefit where he doesn't have the pressure, but honestly I think he's maybe doing lap times that are not only equal but perhaps a little bit faster than Christian Challoner. Now last lap it wasn't as so, but what he can do now is just really focus on getting those lap times down, finding yourself the proper draft patterns, and really working yourself through the run. I really think that John Paquin still has an opportunity to catch Christian Challoner, especially once you start talking about pit stops.
Indeed so, and we are getting close to the end of our first hour here, this 2.4 hour race on the iRacing Esports Network. And well, if you have not yet hit that subscribe button, now is your opportunity to do so. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network now. Just visit youtube.com/iRacing Esports Network. And that now was rather loud. I do apologize, but hit the notifications button as well. Check ourselves out and see, well, there's so much great racing going on. You got ourselves, you got Apex Racing TV, SimSpeed Broadcasting, LSR TV. I've forgotten half them already, Connery, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So much sim racing from so many sources here on the iRacing Esports Network, and there is, you don't have to look very far to find your fix of sim racing here on the Esports Network. And well, in this major series so far, it has been a rather calm affair at the start of the event. 32 laps in, about an hour and 30 minutes to go in this one. And the first set of stops, at least for your prototype, Daytona prototypes, have happened. We're still waiting on the GTEs and on the GT3s as well, which will be coming down by my calculations within the next 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, having a look at the battle for fourth place in your GTE field, and just noticing the fact that lap number 29:30, Mikey Grimes has lost a bit of time. He's been trying to close up Riley Thompson, but if you're doing the full hour and you're abusing the tyres, knowing the fact it's a shorter race, Connery, then you end up in a situation where you just push wide once, either the bus stop chicane or at turn number 1, you lose a bit of time. But actually, Grimes is coming on towards pit road.
Yeah, exactly. And in normal circumstances, you'll call this a little early, but not if you're trying to get this into equal stints if you're a GTE runner. So stopped in his box is Mikey Grimes right now, having to wait for that fuel to go in first, and then if he opts to take them, the tires will go onto that car. Up to a 15-second stop already, so we'll just have to wait a couple of moments more to see what the decision is here for Mikey Grimes. He is all alone on that pit lane right now, and it looks to be a pretty long stop here. So Grimes has taken the initiative early on, dropped himself back down. No tire call though for Grimes. That is just fuel with 33 seconds on the stop.
Yeah, so he pulls that car back out onto track. 55 minutes of this race scored complete. 52.8 second pit stop. So there's a nice milestone for us to test the rest of your GTE field through. Let's go back though to your leader in class. This is David Baker. He's got himself a 2.7 second advantage now over his teammate. He's behind a GT3 car, and this is the thing actually, Connery. Compared to when a prototype's overtaking a GT car, there's not much difference, as actually Baker's going to peel off on towards pit road. Yeah,
he is. So again, trying to split these into roughly equal thirds here for the strategy in GTEs. At least that's what some of these drivers are opting for, as David Baker brings it in. Same with Jamie Rushworth there in the back of shot, and same with the car of, actually that is a GT3 machine, bringing it down on in as well. So the GT3s and the GTEs going for a similar strategy here, which makes a ton of sense because they lost around about the same amount of time on the fuel.
Yep, Christian Rose has come back out on to... Well, that's not right. He's showing him has come back on track. He's not made a pit stop yet. David Baker should be the first driver to come out of pit road off this duo in just 1 moment's time. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. And he's out 34.5 seconds. People around him, let's see what they do. Jamie Rushworth, 34.3. Riley Thompson is going to come out of pit road, and his time is going to be 34.5. So Baker is the first one to come out of this duo or trio. What's going on, Cam?
Well, so I have the mixer feed, which is the production feed, which is a wonderful way to do things. It was slightly behind the TeamSpeak window that I had because we're not really using TeamSpeak. And in trying to bring it to the forefront, I have actually hit the X button on iRacing.
Congratulations. Well done, Cam.
Thank you. I deserve a well-done cake.
Darren Ment just moving himself up into 8th place here, as we are almost at the conclusion of our first hour here on the iRacing Esports Network. Most of your fielders come in now in terms of GTE. We've got a couple of stragglers still to go. Christian Rose is going to come in. He's going to make his service. We expect Yao Valverde to do exactly the same, Connery.
Yes, we will. So we'll have to see exactly when that happens. Yes, Christian Rose stopped in his pit box right now. No ruses going on in terms of the graphics. This time he's legitimately on the lane, and it's going to be perhaps a similar stop time to some of the others that have come down on towards the lane. Around about 33 seconds is what we were looking at. Yo Valverde indeed does decide to hit the lane with a visitation from one of the prototypes as well. So pit lane starting to get some action right now. We see another GT car coming down in as well. That's going to be David E. Baker as finally Christian Rose. There we go. Christian Challoner. There we go. That's your leader in GT3s. And now there's going to be a gaggle of GT3s deciding to hit the lane now as your leaders come in.
Yeah, Christian Challoner on pit road. John Paquin is on pit road. We have Clifton Najrando on pit road as well. So everyone in GT3 is coming in now, Cam.
Yeah, most definitely, and I mean it makes sense. These cars are balanced specifically for this. We're watching the pit stop with Christian Challoner. Now you'll notice that the C7 Daytona prototypes are much faster in the pit lane. These cars have to be done separately. Fuel, tires, and endurance racing drivers. As I always love this particular shot. You can see the cars on the banking going by at full speed, and one car apparently. That's the opposite direct. That is not okay. Whatever, that's fine. And I think he just disqualified himself. So, anyways, irrelevant to that, it's yeah, Enrico Lionheart. Apparently, it was going. Where's my pit stop? Where's the pit box? Where's the pit box? This isn't. None of these are my pit box. This is. Oh no, actually, 76 is his pit box right there. So I'm not sure what happened. Yeah,
it was actually someone else. Yeah, we'll try and find out who it is. It's one of those drivers. Worth noting that we have John Paquin out on track. David Baker has retired from the event. David H. Baker's retired. So he's had an incident. I'm trying to work out exactly what's going on. I think Paquin has got the jump. He has got the jump. He's saying his short stint here. So Paquin will put himself into the lead of the class once everything's sorted out here. This is showing David H. Baker in first because he has had to take a tow back to pit lane by the looks of things. We'll see if we can get ourselves a replay of that one quickly. But David Baker is out of this event. So let's try and see whether we can get a look now at David Baker and stop looking at this beautiful Ferris wheel that goes on at Daytona Beach. We had one in Birmingham for the Christmas market. I'll tell you one thing, you get sick and tired of the sight of it after a couple of days. Was it Baker who disqualified himself? I think it was actually, Cam.
That would put 2 and 2 together, but which would be really surprising because I feel like David would know to not do that. So we're watching the replay right now, coming on up on the scene, and that's exactly what has happened. David, what you do? He should know better than that, especially with being a Grizzly driver. That's a Pacific Northwest team.
Yeah, so that's a big loss. David Baker out of the event. That's David H. Baker. So we are now just down to one David Baker who's classified in this event. But there's confirmation, by the way. John Paquin is now your leader in the GT3 class. Well, he's doing the short stint early, getting that one out of the way, Conway, as you kind of alluded to, the option that some of these drivers can take.
Yeah, exactly. His stop time was only 32.9 seconds, and that is leagues ahead of some of the other drivers that did take a full pit stop service last time, namely your leaders. You've got your Christian Challoners, David Van Broek, Marcus Niskanen as well. Scannon, sorry, and so those guys have really, you know, they're going to watch and see how this one works out for John Paquin here, because it looks like John Kaiser has actually gone for the exact same strategy here. So both those cars that have taken the short stops here early on, both P1 and P number 2 in GT3 as it stands. Yeah,
showing the top 8 of each of your classes. Prototype, it's Gabriel Ruse from Joshua Wolf by 7 seconds right now, but it's worth noting that Gabriel Ruse is on a different strategy. He's 16 laps into his stint. Joshua Wolf et al. Are either 9 or 10 laps into their stint. Timo Deutscher third, Matthias Magnussen in fourth, Chris Santizo in fifth, Eric Mickey in sixth, Darren Mint in seventh, and Pete Harron running out your top 8 in class. In GT3, E, let's show you right now, is David E. Baker leading by actually not much anymore. Christian Rose has closed that gap up to under 1 second as we see the two CQR Club cars brought back together on track. Third place is Jamie Rushworth, so it's still CQR 1, 2, 3 in class. Mikey Grem's even in the 4th position. Then you've got Riley Thompson, Yao Valverde, David White, and Ashley Blake Hood rounding out your top 8. And in GT3, it is John Paquin leading by 22 seconds over Jerome Kaiser. Both John Paquin and Jerome Kaiser have elected to do their short stop early, which is why they've leapfrogged a large part of the field. Christian Calendar is the first of the drivers who have done the quote-unquote long stop. He is currently in the 3rd position in the number 78 car. David Van Broek in 4th, Marcus Niskanen in 5th, Andy Banfield, Enrico Leondut in 7th place, and Gilles Winand in the 8th position. We are going to, at the 1 hour point of this race, take a quick breather, ladies and gentlemen, here live on the iRacing Esports Network, but we're going to take you RaceSpot TV side by side as we go on board with the leader in GTE. That is David E. Baker. Don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
To the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into 2nd place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
trying this contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Leonard drives it back down underneath, and he takes that 2nd spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashima, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the iRacing Esports Network. Welcome back to the Major Series. Welcome back to the 2.4 hours of Daytona. I mean, someone had said early on that we must be sick and tired of seeing Daytona now. The thing is, of course, Connor, you and I haven't actually seen it in the dark, so this is a bit of a new experience for us.
I mean, I caught a little bit of the broadcast as we were waking up this morning, just as the sunset, the sunrise, excuse me, was starting to happen on the latter part of Cam's portion of the broadcast. And yeah, right, I haven't really seen it in this video. Of course, we were very used to seeing this last year when it was run entirely in the night, but thankfully, iRacing Conditions have arrived, so it won't be like this permanently in those 24-hour events. But yeah, I mean, if people think we're tired of Daytona, imagine what the drivers must be feeling like.
It's a bit like Indianapolis. I will say one thing, actually, a lot of drivers, will focus a lot on this racetrack because it's the first big event of the year. But actually, for many drivers, this is the only time they will see Daytona. And after they finish this race, or after they finish the 24 hours, they're like, yeah, I don't want to see that for a while. A lot of people have the same opinion about Le Mans. It's great for the 24 hours. The same for the Indy 500. But actually, after that, you kind of get sick and tired of seeing the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in June, shall we say. We've been having a look at a couple of battles on track. Let's go and have a look at one right now. This is Riley Thompson and Mikey Grems, as we are looking on board right now. Of course, one of the interesting things is, Cam, is, yeah, they are going to stay at this strict track because the next major event is the Daytona 500.
Yeah, it's not even like a Daytona 250 or anything like that. It is the full-fledged Daytona 500. It's one of the longest races in the Majors Series, obviously outside of the special event long races. Yeah, so and I think what the most exciting thing is that with the Major Series is it's going to be all these same drivers, all these same teams, and it's going to be right here on the actual super speedway. And it is that however will not be going into the night. That would be, I mean, that would be fun, but no, that wouldn't be happening. But I think that's probably what I really like about the Major Series is that you have this oval, then to road course, then to oval, then to road course dichotomy. I have the schedule in front of me. And it'll be here. We will not have a Copper Classic, but however, the first odd, as you would say, combination is we're going to do the Short Track Nationals and the super late model car at Bristol. So that'll be fun. That'll be in March. But yeah, and of course they do the Indy 500 and the duels in Detroit and everything like that. Good fun. I have to say, it is fun to see the sports car opening for the Major Series and then the oval opening, and it both takes place here at Daytona.
It does indeed. We've been having a look at the battle going on, Connor. This is for 6th place in your prototype class. This is Eric Mickey versus Darwin Mint in the Corvette C7 Daytona prototype.
Yep, they are dealing with the traffic down towards the bus stop, which is always a sketchy concern sometimes when you're in these prototypes, because you have to time it right coming through the bus stop as to not get impeded right where it matters, which is in the middle of the bus stop, where it's very hard to change your line and very hard to react to anything slow on the apex of the corners. But the thing is, Darwin Mentz has got himself a fantastic run coming through the bus stop last time. 1/10 of a second becomes 0/10 of a second as he makes his way by on the outside. There's going to be GT traffic parked on the inside line that has to be dealt with here by Eric Mickey. So Mickey now just going to get impeded slightly, as you can see him you see him instantly all the way behind right now, as he has come off absolutely the worst in that situation. He still is having to deal with the GT cars as they exit through the S's. So that is a very well planned move there from Darwin Mentz. He knew that inside line will be very, very slow in towards turn number 1. He used it to his advantage to complete the move.
Yeah, he did. It's just having a look a little bit further back. Let's go back and have a look in the wonderful world of GT3, because we have got a battle going on there. It's actually just ahead of the battle we've been talking about, Cam, and these
John Pittman has crashed.
Oh my word!
John Pittman has crashed into the outside wall. Something has happened, and it looks like this was all on his doing. It was on the exit of the little squiggly bits heading to the International Horseshoe, and he has lost it there and crashed into the outside wall, and that is going to be he has to take a tow. Now, there is a quick repair here in the Major Series with how difficult the series are and how the cars are, but he is going to have to take that tow, and you know what? At that point, I think he might just be retiring the car. That's exactly what he did. He's retired. You're getting the overhead view, Will, now is here you can see the car just breaks away to the left and hits the inside wall.
Yeah, that is a very clumsy mistake there by John Paquin. But it's one that we've seen happen in the 24-hour race. And let's have a look. Through the right, then the left-hand king. Does he just catch the curb, Connery, on the left-hand king?
He does. It causes a little bit of bouncing on the front end of that Mercedes, but the Mercedes are usually pretty good at dealing with the curbs here. So we'll get another look at it as he goes onto... I must have hit a bump. It wasn't the curb. It was a bump in the circuit that had upset the front end of the car, and the rear end just sort of drifted away as he loses control of the car, and so that is a very strange incident, because usually we see drivers cut the curb a little bit too much on that apex, but he didn't actually hit any part of the yellow curb. It was just a bit of a bump in track that lies right next to the curb that the car got bounced over.
Yeah, what we're going to have a look at now, Connery, is actually Paquin's teammate, Andy Banfield, in the V-Apex car. He's hunting down Troy Addison. That gap was as short as 4 attempts per second a lap ago, but now it's up to 1.5.
Yeah, it is, and this is just Troy Anderson, just sort of edging away from Andy Banfield at the stage. He's even going up, just as we're talking about, up to 1.8 seconds now on the circuit. And of course, these guys, both AMG and Mercedes, both have to deal with the benefits and of course limitations of that car. Can be very, very understeery at times, as Andy Banfield actually has to let both a GTE car and a prototype by coming up through the bus stop. So that is not the ideal situation at all. And look at how it has punished him in terms of lap time, because the gap is now up to 2.6 seconds all the way to Troy Anderson. So that is a whole bunch of time lost there. And you would have thought, okay, he's getting lapped by the GTE cars, that's why he's going so slow. It seems to be clear air pace as well is where he's lacking. But
what we do now have is a battle for your race lead in GT3, because of the fact that John Paquin is out of this event, and it is between Christian Challoner and Jerome Kaiser. Worth noting that these two pitted on the same lap, but Jerome Kaiser, Cam, has done his short stop. Christian Challoner has done his long stop. So Kaiser has lost position to Challoner, and now we're likely to see him drop back a bit.
Yeah, and it's been impressive to see how Challoner is able to get a gap you would not expect with GT3s, with how close they're supposed to be getting through, especially when it's the Audi. We didn't really see the Audi come to much dominance in the first split of the 24-hour of Daytona, which was just ended a couple of hours ago, but it's good to see it here as this pair of Audis are leading your GT3 field. Now, I do also want to point out there is kind of a bit of storylines, as it were, from the 2018 season. Pete Herod, that's why he has the #1 on his machine. He was the champion last year in the pro division, as it were, in the Major Series for 2018, and Timu Toyka finished in second. So only by 20 points. It was high drama. They were the only two that could really get the championship to the end, so the battle between Timu Toyka and Pete Herod will be something that can certainly be looked at over the course of the season. But in the meantime, here in the opening stages, there are all sorts of new names, all sorts of people who could really make this an interesting challenge. We're watching Shane Norton, 2 tenths behind Robert Lundgren.
2 tenths ahead of Robert Lundgren, I think you mean. There's in towards turn #1. They come, and well, Lundgren, we've got the team names up. Fine. I'm going to blame Hugo, but I can't blame Hugo at the same time, because of course we've all been working flat out this weekend, and Hugo unfortunately having to be a part of what we like to call a last-minute scheduling change, getting me ready for this event. But we've got the teams up now. V-Apex Racing Group Eastern Europe, Shane Norton, and Boosted Motorsports, Robert Lundgren. Half a second separating them in GTE, 2 Ferrari and a Porsche. And this is where we're going to see some of the balance of performance kick in a little bit. We can see the lights being flashed. Right, look at Lundgren. Oh, that's actually another car down to its inside. That is a prototype car, Connery.
Yeah, exactly, making its way through, and Lundgren just having to give way coming up on towards the banking. Of course, it's not a requirement for him to get out of the way, as we have reiterated many times during the iRacing 24-hour broadcast. The blue flags in iRacing are advisory, so it's in your best interest to get out of the way, but it's not necessarily the thing that you are required to do as per the iRacing sporting code. It does result, though, as Lundgren has a bit of a slide going through the bus stop chicane. It has resulted in him losing quite a bit of time here to Shane Norton, up to around about 1.1 seconds, exactly 1.1 seconds as our relative gets updated. So it's it's just the again, I used the phrase in the iRacing broadcast, it's traffic giveth, traffic taketh away again.
Yeah, having a look, pit stop for Oldglis Putsklis, and that is the 666 car. That is got to be his second pit stop of the day. Yeah, that has got to be the second pit stop of the day, because there's no way you can do an hour and almost 20 minutes on the race on a tank of fuel. So that will be the second stop. Darwin Mentz versus Eric Mickey. That one's close again, Cam, as they head into 6.
Yeah, and this is a pair of Bombshell Motorsport machines. Bombshell finished, they finished third, fourth, fifth, and 7th in the championship last year. So Bombshell, very dominant as far as the point spread goes. So Eric Mickey, he was the one that that finished pretty much in the middle of that, behind Marcus Niskanen and Kurt Crum. And so for Darwin Mantz, he's trying to make himself, he wants to get himself a very good start to this finish, and Mickey is just able to cover. They didn't want to risk, and really you don't want to mix. If we can see right here, we're seeing a replay, or at least a replay ticker. But I will say, Will, we have seen at Daytona sometimes things can happen between teammates, say Porsches at the International Horseshoe, where they wipe each other out.
Yes, and what we were showing there was a driver who we thought had somehow managed to lose it and go straight on from turn 1 to turn 6. What actually happened is I'd like to pay my respects to the cones that have just sadly passed away. What we actually saw, Connery, is just a driver getting very loose and pushing very wide on the exit of turn 6.
Yeah, the battle continues, though, between the two teammates of Eric Mika and Darwin Mentz in this one. 2.5 tenths of a second separate them as they come through that left-hand kink. Up towards turn number 5 now, and they just do tease on the brakes a little bit, and Darwin Mentz has the better entry, does not find the better exit over his teammate, though, as Mika launches his Daytona prototype off of the corner. And again, turn number 6, the corner before you get yourself onto the banking in the halfway point on the lap. That is one of the places as well that we saw in the iRacing Daytona 24 that people had issues. And speaking of issues, there's a prototype that has gone off behind one of your CQR GTE machines there. It's I think it's one of the Bombshell cars, which was the same team as Eric Mika and Darwin Mentz. I'm not entirely sure which one it's going to be. We'll get a replay from onto the screen anyway, but someone having a sketchy moment coming through the kink, I believe that was.
Yeah, that was Diego Jimenez Homela, and let's have a look on board with him. This is what we saw on the exit of the second of the 2 horseshoe curves, coming out the corner and catches the curb. Wiggle, wiggle, grass, wiggle. Did he hit the board? And scattering a load of cones, but he did keep that car on the island somehow, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely great save. A good car control into there, rip those cones. Gabriel Roos, during that, has come on down pit lane. So Gabriel Roos has gotten his pit service done. He is out and on the track. You're seeing Matthias Magnussen, his teammate, has also come in, so Kinetic. Certainly looking at perhaps having a more team-oriented strategy. Those purple and the purple. Where there's no purple on that car at all. But okay, the black and lime green car of the Kinetic Racing has come in and gotten their service, and he's out and away.
Yeah, that's not the first time we've had purple on a car. Well, purple promised on a car. Well, they didn't have it. Was it V-Apex Group who had that?
I think it was V-Apex that... there was some in the chat saying they maybe had purple wing mirrors, but we didn't spot them on the broadcast. No. So if you're going to call your car a certain color, then make sure that color is actually featured on your livery, please. Thank you.
Yeah. battle between a Ferrari and a Porsche right now. Ashley Blake Hood in the number 82 machine. David White in the 173 car right now as they go on to the banking. Kinetic Racing car just going around the outside of them. Of course, that's in the prototype division. That would have helped, well, now it would help Ashley Blake Hood a little bit. But let's ride on board for a minute here, Cam, and see as these two drivers go through the bus stop chicane. White actually gained about a tenth of a second for the apex of the bus stop, but now they're onto the banking. That gap staying around 4/10 of a second. David White not really able to make any inroads through NASCAR turn 3 and 4.
No, not at all, and it's one of those situations, as it were, where you really want to start making your maneuvers. You really want to start getting yourself set up for that final pit stop, as it were, because we are at an hour and 20 minutes. We've only got 1 hour to go. That means that it's not going to be that long before these guys are going to be coming in for their final pit stop of the day. So you really kind of have to start deciding, do I want to get in front? Do I want to be behind? Do I want to save that fuel? And here comes prototype of Matthias Magnussen, who had that spin earlier on, dropped to the very rear of your prototype field, and he's worked up to the 11th position here as he takes the king. Now here he goes to the inside of the Ian Robson iRacing Today machine. Yeah, and it's worth noting that in just over 2.5 hours, we have the final race of our day. That'll be the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. They are going to an oval, Connery. They're going to Phoenix.
Yeah, I thought you were about to say they're going to Daytona, and then you know, everyone who's bored of Daytona would just cringe internally. But Phoenix, that is a much better option for Skip Barber machines. Let me tell you that one. And it's always been quite a lot of fun, because I remember way back when 2K actually tried out an oval league. And I actually led at one point one of the races at Phoenix. I think it was the inaugural race of that test series, and that was my first ever feature on RaceSport TV before I got to commentate.
Wow. David White versus Ashley Blake Hood. That still remains at 6/10 of a second. But yeah, catch that one live and exclusive on the iRacing Esports Network. We have done 1 hour and 24 minutes of this event, so let's bring you up to speed with 1 hour to go. Into the last hour then of the 2.4 hours Major Series style of Daytona, and the situation remains as such in terms of your prototype field. It is still Joshua Wolf who is leading the way by 4.5 seconds over Timo Toika. Part of the reason for that one is that we have started to see pit stops now. We do expect to see a lot of drivers on pit road in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Connery, we don't believe anyone can do this on 2 stops.
Yeah, that would be a very, very big stretch to attempt right now, as most of your prototype drivers are on sort of around about 24, 25 laps on this, then some are around about 22, and some have actually come down over the past couple of laps. The likes of Michael Lane, you had the Uldis Eklis behind P number 15 in that particular field. So the race in LMP1 definitely still has a little bit of a while to go in terms of the pit stop phases. But here we go. Here's the GTE field, because we have David E. Baker leading the way around in that particular class. Of course, David H. Baker in GT3s unfortunately retired from this race, fortunately disqualified, excuse me, from this event, with Christian Rose in P2, Jamie Rushworth in the final podium spot right now, with Mikey Grems in P4. Then you've got Riley Thompson, Yoel Valverde, Ashley Blake Hood, and David A. White rounding out your top 8 in class.
I will let you off saying LMP1, seeing as you're entering hour 8 of your commentary today. We do still have the graphic. It does mean I have to go over to this one, but Connery, just for you, there you are. Oh no, it doesn't work. You're fine. I blow it. You blew it as well. And Cam, of course, in GT3, the big story of the day is the fact that John Paquin crashed out from the race lead.
Absolutely, and that gave it to Christian Chalnier and Jerome Kaiser, who has been steadily falling back. I mean, quite a massive gap now, frankly, between them now, as it is multiple cars. Frankly, it is quite the challenge, I have to say, to think that somebody is going to be able to come up to the rear of Christian Chalnier and try to pass him. So it'll be interesting to see how GT3 works itself out, but it's been so far an interesting race. And also a shout out to, of course, to Tobias Blackman, who I see him in the chat. That was my partner for however many hours we did of the night time here at Daytona. So he said it's a bit of deja vu for him. I agree. But I will say for GT3, the field seems to be holding a bit better than what we saw at the Daytona 24-hour, because I think there's a lot more GT3s here as Darwin Mentz is leaving pit lane.
Yeah, indeed. So having to wake up Raceport wide to take Connery to the station. So we are going to lose Connery at about 25 minutes time. I know it's a shame, but Connery, it's been an interesting day of commentating 6 hours at Daytona, then all of a sudden, in your case, commentating an hour 30 odd of this major race as Darwin Mentz almost ends up being pushed off track.
Yeah, that was a very close run thing indeed. With, I believe that was one of the Ferraris there. That is one of the GTE Ferraris I had a bit of trouble with there, but yeah, you're exactly right. My skills are starting to fade now in terms of the whole commentary thing. You know, it's been a very, very long day here at Raceport Flats, you know, whatever you want to call it, the Castle of Will. And I'm going to be going home in just, you know, in about 20 minutes time. But I've really enjoyed myself because, you know, being in this sort of you know, dynamic where I can see Will, I can interact with Will, and in a way it actually makes my commentary a little bit easier and a little bit more fluid. It doesn't look like it right now because I've been doing this for God knows how many hours, but it's a real benefit, and I hope we get to do this a lot more often. Yeah, we're looking to try and set something up for the Sebring 12 hours, because that is the only time, I think, when WCS will not interact with one of these big events. So we're looking to do something special. Actually, the Sebring 12 hours were the anniversary of me being diagnosed with diabetes, so we might try and raise some money for the Diabetes Association through Extra Life as well. We have had a change. David White has come onto pit road in GTE. Well, we're having a look at the battle for second place, and this isn't a true battle, Cam. You must preface this because Jerome Kaiser took 30 seconds left fuel the last time by, but it's Jerome Kaiser versus David Van Broek. We do expect Jerome Kaiser to have to take a bit more fuel and maybe some fresh boots at the end of this race.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's why Jerome is not going as expediently as he could. As fast as that was a 143.6, and he's been running basically 145s, 144s. So I have a feeling that maybe he is just trying to do max fuel save throughout this stint. Having taken less fuel, he wants to get to that last window. So we'll have to see if David Van Broek and that now front-running Mercedes, that being the Mercedes that is the highest up in GT3, and see if maybe he can catch a couple of laps. Let's see, the lap time going by was 144.5 versus David Van Broek's 143.6. So I mean that is basically a flat second taken off a lap by David Van Broek.
Yeah, we're right on board right now. David Van Broek in the boosted motorsports car as he heads into the International Horseshoe. And well, for those of you who didn't catch the start of this race, we started this race just at sunset and we run into dusk, into the night. The track temperature has come down further. It is no longer just cool out there. Arguably, it's getting cold on track and, of course, in the ambient air conditions. Actually, we can show this one to you now, and it is 22 degrees Celsius, so we still got a bit of the heat from the day, Connery. Yeah. Not as cold as we had at the, shall we say, sunrise point of the 24 hours of Daytona, but it's still windy out there. 15 km/h winds, and that can hurt you, depending on the way the wind's going, into things like turn number 1 and also the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, just a random gust of wind at some point can, upset some of these cars. Of course, it's going to affect the more aerodynamic cars more than others. So, of course, the prototypes, maybe like, if we had open wheel cars, that would make it really, really affecting them. But these right now, it's more of a minor thought in the driver's mind. It's still there, but it's not at the forefront of the mind. So you usually look to blame other circumstances for incidents or spins than which direction the wind is blowing at what strength. But Joshua Wolf right now running in P3. We're running on board with him. He's about a second behind his next challenger down the road. That's Diego Melro. And both of these guys are currently, almost 20 seconds off of your current overall race leader because Gabriel Rus is on that alternate strategy.
Yeah, and Joshua Wolf was actually just pitted. This is his second lap on this stint. Gabriel Rus is your overall race leader as a consequence, but he is on the alternate strategy, as is Diego Melro. So that's worth noting. Sorry, Cam, you were going to make a point.
Oh, no, all I said was, whilst Connery was saying blame other things, I just said Randy Chenow, because that's whenever I need to blame factors that I can't control, that's blame Randy.
Hashtag blame Randy. As we can just see that confirmation, that was a 25.2 second pit stop for Joshua Wolf. Now, he will need to pit. Interestingly, if anyone's going to manage to make it on one more stop, it might be Diego Melro, and this is going to be very interesting because as it stands, if he doesn't pull on towards pit road this time by Connery, he might just end up having just enough if he's behind someone to save a bit of fuel and go to the end without making a third pit stop, but it's going to be ultra close.
It is. It really, really is. And you also have to ask yourself the question of how much time that Diego Melro is losing by trying to fuel save as opposed to as going maximum pace. And if that time loss will actually be offset by the time he'll gain by missing out a pit stop. These are all the calculations that you do have to consider when you're going for a quote-unquote off strategy like this. But there we go. Joshua Wolf down the inside, easy as you like at turn 1. So Melro, he knows what his place is right now. He knows he has to stick to his numbers and his strategy. An on-track battle will just completely throw that in the trash can.
Steady as he goes then. So that is Josh Wolf up into second position on track. Having a look down to GT. Things are spread out actually, Cam, quite a bit now in both GTE and GT3. We are expecting them to make their final pit stop in about 10 to 15 minutes time. And that's going to be really what we're going to see. Are people going to bother to take tyres and be fast at the end of this race? Or are they going to do the option of taking no tyres and then just having to maybe tippy-toe a little bit more around track?
I would strongly advise that people do take tires, simply because this very final stint, it is, yes, going to be a much longer pit stop, and I agree with that, it will be. But being able to take tires means you're going to be that much more aggressive when it comes to making your decisions. As here comes Diego Melro onto the inside of Joshua Wolf. He will back out of that one as they head through the bus stop at only 100 miles an hour before getting back onto it and heading their way up the banking one more time. I will suggest the boots are good. Now, obviously, in the Daytona prototype, doesn't matter. You're always going to get tires because it's a total pit stop at the same time, whereas your GT cars, you can do one or the other, as here comes Diego Melro down pit lane.
Yeah, so we have Diego down on pit road. That's at the top of your screen. We also have down at the bottom of your screen Stefan Wang right now for the no emission motorsports car. I'm going to pay attention more to Wang for the initial part.
He had to reverse back into his box.
Yeah, a little bit. Because of the fact that I want to see more about what he's going to do. We know exactly what Melro is going to do. He's going to come out of pit road first. But for Wang, if he does a pit stop around the 30-second mark, this will be very interesting to see what's going to happen with the competitions around him. I would suggest that Wang will not be taking any rubber here, and he's just going to go flat out to the end of this one. Again, you see Melro, as we suggested, he's out and away. Pete Harrod is out and away right now. Wang is going to take tyres.
Okay. That changes the strategy somewhat for the number 85. You will get a fresh rubber for the end of this race, which which is, I guess, would have been the safer call in terms of keeping the car together on the circuit. You know, with a race that's 2 hours 20 minutes, it is possible maybe in GTEs to do the whole race on one set of tires, because we did see the whole triple stinting strategy go on in the 24-hour event, but not feeling as confident in doing it in these GT3s. So Stefan Van will get himself onto the pit exit, careful with that concrete wall, and then rejoining the track in amongst a group of fellow GT friends there, or might just be enemies depending on how the traffic turns out, as that GTE dives down into the inside of the horseshoe. So not exactly friends.
No, indeed not. And he's come out in P number 10 for the time being 46 minutes. Just under remaining as we got the number 99 car, Team Hoytzenveld, Andrzej Rakovic on pit road. This was a car, let's not forget, Cam, that was involved in an incident on lap number 1.
Yes, absolutely, and he's been working his way up as well, though he had front-end damage. It wasn't like the spin that Matthias Magnussen had, as Andrej's gotten his service started. It's been already about 15-16 seconds. Just take about 20-25 seconds to get this thing fully loaded and ready to rock and roll. If they were changing drivers, it would be about 30 seconds. There you go, 24 flat, and out and away Andrzej Rakovic will go for the last time here, and he'll be leaving pit lane, and he'll be coming out just ahead of Pete Herod, maybe. So here we go. There's a bit of a drag race, and coming onto the right side of your screen, you can perhaps see Pete Herod coming to the braking zone. No, he decides to duck to the back, so smart decision from Pete Herod.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might be the last time on pit road. I was thinking about this one as you were talking, and Cam, we've got to consider, I said a couple of moments ago that, you know, oh, it's all fine. We didn't need to know whether or not any of these guys who just started their run like Melrose, what their pit stop time is. He did 25-second pit stop. I mean, he might be able to lift and coast in the last lap and make it to the end, but we don't know. It is going to be micro close between them.
Micro close. That's a new measurement. You know, I just started my career as a CNC machinist, so I will have to take that under advisement. But as a new metric. But it is it actually, as I'm watching Pete Herod, he got absolutely stonewalled by Ashley Blake Hood coming through, as Jerome Kaiser and David Van Broek are coming through. And again, you can just see the lap time differences, and we know that Kaiser is saving fuel, but 1.1, 1.1, and 0.9. I mean, that right there will kind of tells you, as he's closing right on in. I wonder if this is almost if Kaiser said, you know what, Christian's gonna be gone, but you know what, if I can just make this work, as we are at 1 hour and 38. If he can just make this work, there's 44 minutes left in this race, I'd be very impressed to see what he can do with it.
Yeah, what we're going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSpot TV is step side by side for the moment, as we are going to say goodbye to Connery Maddock. Connery, goodbye.
Goodbye. It's been an absolute pleasure here, chilling in RaceSpot Flats with both members of the Vincent family. Thank you very much for having me, and your hospitality as well.
No worries. So we're going to step aside just as we unplug Connery from the RaceSpot internet, and we'll be back with more in just a couple of moments.
outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Racely to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press.
He saved it.
What a save!
Look to the outside as Trunkgate goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried this contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schumacher, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the iRacing Esports Network, and we've been riding on board with Darren Menton. Actually, he's been able to get past Eric Mickey, who is battling with a couple of moments ago. Conor Matic has been successfully unplugged, and he has just left Casa de Will. So all of a sudden, I've got the flat to myself, but another 38 minutes, 48 seconds left of this race to do. And, well, Cam, it's now just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
I mean, can we really, though? Can we really?
I think we can.
It's been a long, it's been a long day already. We could pull a Hugo and fall asleep during a race spot fan immersion.
I wouldn't do that. I also make sure I get my sleep as much as I possibly can, even though actually,
nowadays, yes.
well, the thing is, actually, the most complicated thing is because I had iRacing going overnight, just in case I need to jump on last minute. It's very hard to get sleep when you've got two PCs. One of them is really quiet, but the other one is a bit of a worry machine, and it makes it very hard to get into the deep sleep. So sleep's been eluding me a little bit today. So have a look at Melon.
Kaiser's on pit lane. By the way, we kind of wanted to see when Jerome was going to be coming in. That's the 076 machine. That's that mad car that was running very timid lap times because he wanted to make sure that he was getting his fuel numbers. And off and away he goes. So good to see that the 37 minutes is how long he was able to go. And obviously his last pit stop of the day did not take tires.
Yeah, he's not taking tires at all today, so he's going to be squirrely, whirly, loosey-goosey, potentially, at the end of this one. But he will gain some more time over drivers as well. So actually, it's going to help him out in this field. There's 13 drivers still remaining in your GT3 field here today. The biggest stories, of course, of the day was we lost David H. Baker, but more importantly, we lost John Paquin from the race lead. We've only got one retiree from your prototype field, that is Dave Walsh, and everyone is still running in GTE.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm surprised since there isn't a single Ford out there. I mean, you know, if there were more Fords, obviously, it would still, you know, be 100% attendance. But you know, all those Ferraris and Porsches out there, I'm surprised at least one hasn't befallen some issue or another. As we're watching Eric Mickey, who is now behind his teammate. I'd like to think that we've had some pretty decent battles, Will, so far, and it's a bit weird to think that this race is almost done.
Yeah, of course. I think you and I, we've both done 6+ hours of the Daytona 24, so this is basically like just going out and having a quick entree compared to having a full 3-course sit-down meal for us, really, Cam. I mean, by the time we finished our plate, boom, it's over.
Yeah, well, this is like sitting at, oh, you're not going to, well, yeah, maybe you will. It's a bit like going to a diner in America in the morning. You know, you get your coffee, the food comes out about 10 minutes earlier than you were anticipating, and, you know, and the food's, you know, it's always good. Well, depending. I don't know if you were able to, if you've been to a bad diner, but...
I've been to an IHOP and I've been to a Waffle House. Waffle House was good. IHOP was disappointing.
I can understand that. You haven't been to an American diner, though. You haven't, like, you know, just those small little mom and pop diners. You haven't even managed to go to one.
I've not been to one. I've been to. I mean, Waffle House is close enough, really.
No, they're not. They're chain stores. It's like going to the Cracker Barrel. But well, I will tell you. Well, the sun was coming up as the battle between Mickey and Mayence is still getting pretty close as they go past the start-finish line. You're following Lyndon Swaby as he's chasing down David White. One car pushing way wide. That is a Porsche, and I believe that is Randall Welsh. No, that's not at all.
Lyndon Swaby.
That is Lyndon Swaby. Okay, as we'll get a replay of that. Not brought to you by any food stores at all whatsoever. It just seems to me like he just pushed wide, trying to set himself up around the Ferrari, and because of that, he had to get out of it, and that easily allowed the other Ferrari to get down through. Now, the point I wanted to make, the sun was rising, yes, it was wonderful, it was great, but it was a couple of hours ahead, seeing as it was, the 24 hours was kind of set on the GMT time, right? So for Tobias, it was wonderful, because the sun was rising at the same time it was rising at his house. For me, it was like 4:30 in the morning server time, 5:30 in the morning server time. The sun was coming up. I was getting so much energy. I was so excited. I wanted to get done with the broadcast so I could go out and get some breakfast. And I looked at the clock, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning my time. I was so disappointed. You don't even know.
24-hour diners, where is one when you need one around Camville? Although you've been telling us that it's snowy, so we'd be asking you to travel safely anyway at the best of times. You've just seen a pit stop there by Riley Thompson in the number 58 car. He is out and away after that one has been done. Lyndon Swaby, to confirm, he lost position to David White. That was in your GTE field. And Swaby, he looked like he's going to come on towards pit road then. That's how much faster the prototypes are to GTE. You don't see that level of overspeed from GTE to GT3, Cam.
No, you really don't. It's kind of surprising, in a way. I'm a bit... With how the performance of GT3s have been growing, I'm almost a bit worried about the real-life Daytona 24 with how overlap is going to go. It shouldn't be dramatic as this, because there's so many different car manufacturers and so many different things that can happen in a 24-hour race, especially with cautions and whatnot. But it is certainly surprising to see consistently the GT3 cars and the GTE cars intermingled.
Yep, there's a number of things I'm looking forward to the Daytona 24 Hours. One of them is the fact it's going to be live on the NBC Sports Network. Thankfully, we are no longer going to have 40-second breaks between commercials, which we've had on Fox Sports for so many years. So really looking forward to Lee Diffie and the gang calling that one. But also, Magnus Racing. That is my most favourite part of the Daytona 24 Hours, the Magnus Racing stream. I remember when I first was getting into some of their streams and in the old Flex box.
Flex Xbox.
Ding! For those of you who have not watched the Magnus Racing stream, I implore on you that you need to do so. Have it up as a second feed whilst you're watching the NBC Sports Network or the World Feed coverage, and check that one out. It's always good to have the Radio Le Mans guys as well, because John Heindorf and the gang will be out for that one. So you've got 3 really good options, Cam. You've got the NBC SN coverage, which is going to be great. You've then got the Radio Le Mans coverage, which is going to be epic. And you've got the Magnus Racing stream.
All at the same time. And then you've got me working until midnight. So basically, oh well, the race starts on Saturday actually. So hey, fantastic.
Yeah, just coming out of pit road, we've got Robert Lundgren in the boosted motorsports car. I'm just going to go and have a look into the world of GT3. The gaps have really kind of spread out a little bit, but we have got one I want to keep an eye out on. That is Enrico Leonard in the number 76 car, and Gilles Winand in the Grizzly Evolution number 16 car. And let's put up the lap gaps and see what's going on there. Look at that. That's 2 seconds that Winand has closed over the last 3 laps over the number 76 Black Tree Race Crew car.
Yeah, most certainly. And Black Tree Race Crew, I believe that's a bit of a new name for me as far as the major series go. So if they were around last season, I'm sorry. Grizzly Evolution obviously was around. They were one of the more numerous groups to see. They're running about 3 seconds behind Enrico Leonhardt, and they're trying to close on in. And it is, I will say, at this stage, I almost think it's a bit difficult to really start catching yourselves up. In a way, you can't really affect change in a GT3 car like you're able to in other cars, as we're seeing a car on pit road. That is Matthias Magnussen. That's the car who spun very early on. He's been working very hard to get himself up and through. He was only 10 seconds behind your leader, which is amazing, seeing as he spun out earlier, and now he is up and out and away.
30 minutes left of this race to go. 2 hours to go until the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. And to wrap out what has been another very busy weekend on RaceSpots TV. I was joking earlier on that I don't know what it is, but for some strange reason, every time we've either got a big event going on, or there's a big event such as, you know, the Super Bowl, we end up having to do a 2K race before or afterwards, Cam. I really do think it's personal punishment that Philippe Leber is putting on to me.
The Super Bowl isn't today.
The Super Bowl is in 2 weeks' time, and there's a 2K race then. And in the UK, like, if I wanted to go out, I mean, the Colts aren't in it anymore, so I don't really care that much. I just hope the Patriots don't make it. But if you want to go to a bar and get a decent spot in the UK, you kind of got to be there by 10 o'clock. Because, well, it's 10 o'clock to be at the bar. The game doesn't even start until midnight. And normally I've got work afterwards. And 4:30 in the morning, I've either got to try and sober up or take the morning off.
Yeah, I can understand. Well, actually, that's a what do they call it? It's oh boy, what's the word I'm looking for?
Unintended consequences.
An unofficial national holiday. It's the national, like, called-in sick day is typically the day after the Super Bowl. I'm not joking. It's a pretty substantial thing, but no, I haven't been watching football with the ball thingy, because I go to work at 3:30 in the afternoon and I come home at midnight. So watching football on a weekend is a bit difficult, because that's not like in my time, as it were. So I occasionally watch rugby. That's on TV at around that time, about an hour before I go to work, and me and the baby will watch some. It's weird. It's like a giant square field. There's a stadium, and there's these guys who are running around, like they're not really wearing anything outside of jerseys, and like they use their feet to like this thingy around. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but hey, the baby likes it, so we keep it on. And sometimes you get to see the babies on the TV too, because they accidentally touch each other, and then it's sprawling, writhing on the floor. It's interesting. It is. I've been watching that lately, and so yes, there's all sorts of interesting things on daytime television.
Yeah, I tell you what, you need to watch a bit of Aussie rules football. If you think rugby's a lot of people running around way, not very much. Aussie rules football will probably be your thing. We've been having a look at Riley Thompson in a battle with Mikey Grems. That is a battle for 4th place in your GTE field. Let's go back on board, actually, with Riley Thompson. It is a Ferrari versus a Ferrari battle going on right now. So these two equally matched in horsepower, and that's going to be Riley Thompson going down to the inside because of a mistake there made by Riley Grems. Let's get the replay up and show you that one on board with him. This was on the run down into the 2nd horseshoe. You got the international horseshoe. You got many horseshoes here. For some reason, I don't like carousels, but they do like horseshoes. Mikey Graham's just pushing wide. There you see, that's one driver. And I think he was thinking about that car, the Team Bushwick Racing prototype car. I'm thinking, when do I need to get out the way? And consequently, just pushed wide, Cam.
Yeah, definitely. And for Mikey Grems, he actually almost took a hefty bite out of Riley Thompson's Ferrari going into the corner, entering the super speedway oval, but they avoided each other, thankfully. And now Mikey Grems is going to look to get locked on. You can see right now the Ferrari up right on ahead. He's slowly closing in, but he's not going to have enough time before we get to the start-finish line. So that means that he's going to have to maybe do it under braking, which, if we saw last lap, maybe not his strong suit.
Yeah, and he backs out of it for the time being. We've got a battle going on behind, also in GTE.
Ooh, actually, hold up. Mickey Grems, Riley has pushed wide, and Mickey Grems was able to run the inside line and has actually gotten the position.
So we cut away from them for literally 2 seconds, and all of a sudden we end up with this. This is Riley Thompson ahead, and then pushes wide through turn number 2. And we'll just have a look there. You can see, and Mickey Grems just takes the inside line, holds it well through the little S-kink, which, as we saw at John Paquin, you've got to be careful through that, especially if you've got a loose setup. But Riley Thompson is now back into 5th place. Mickey Grems back up into 4th place. And actually, Lyndon Swabby is falling back to 1.5 behind David A. White. So anything I would have sent there wouldn't have been useful. Marcus Niskanen in the Bombshell Motorsports Inc. number 47 car versus Jerome Kaiser in the Team Mad number 078 car. Just having a look then at the lap gaps, and well, I think that, yeah, Marcus Niskanen has actually just come out of pit road, so we haven't really got any data yet, but we do know Jerome Kaiser has done 2 very short pit stops here today. Worth noting that Niskanen did a 23.7 second pit stop, so fuel only, and of course taking less fuel than what Jerome Kaiser had to do because he came in 8 laps later.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, you got to calculate that those 8 laps, as this Ferrari battle is still ongoing here. As we're watching Marcus Niskanen taking the bus stop. Now we've cut on over as Gabriel Ruse is trying the outside line to get around Victor Pedreira, but it just doesn't work. And then you've got Christian Chalnier. That is, of course, your leader in GT3, as there's a swarm of cars behind, and this is actually going to go to Riley Thompson. Mickey Grems has to give the position to Riley Thompson, so Riley's positioning is going to get him through, and that right there is some tight, close quarter racing.
And very good track awareness as well by Riley Thompson, getting himself back up into 4th places. You do end up with that. You don't get it often at Daytona, but you do sometimes end up with prototypes overtaking GTEs, overtaking GT3s, all at the same time. And track placement then is actually very important, because you can lose a good couple of seconds if you have to run the outside of the international horseshoe, then back out into the kink and be on the outside into the other horseshoe.
Yeah, definitely. And if somebody tries to take you too wide, say a prototype to the inside, they certainly can have issues. We did see during the 24 hours of Daytona a prototype going to the inside through that little left-hand kink. That actually caused it was a Mercedes or a Ferrari to actually crash and end their race. Yeah, we have not seen that here today, as Mickey Grems is now 2 cars behind Riley Thompson, courtesy of some prototypes coming through. But from what I can see, for the most part, things have quieted it down, as we have got 22 minutes to go. So I think this is one of those moments, Will, where it's kind of the calm before the storm.
The calm before the electric storm, because a lot of your prototype field are going to have to come in one more time. You saw Pete Howard has been passed recently by Trevor Vavoski in the number 10 car. So Team Mad, they've been in the news for all the wrong reasons recently, as we see Udelis on towards pit road for what will be his final stop of the day in the Kinetic Europe Junior car. 666 coming on towards pit road, and Put Clisten going to make his final stop. This should be quick, Cam. No more than about 20 seconds, maybe even 15.
Let's see, about 20 minutes of fuel. That's about, what, half a tank? So, yeah, it should be about 15 seconds. Oh, 17.4, okay. So, conservative, I would say. I feel that you could do less fuel, but he's going to be coming out of pit lane as right now we'll switch on over to a pair of Ferraris. Teammates David E. Baker and Christian Rose, as they will start going around each other's CQR club to the inside of the other CQR club. Don't want to hit your teammate. As they work your way through the bus stop here, you can see the pink light on the inside that the Ferrari has been kind of getting famous for, because it helps illuminate the inside switches. And is now bouncing off of the helmet of the driver. So great performance from the CQR Club team to really get themselves working through. Is now on the outside. Here comes David Baker.
Yeah, and at the line, it's gonna be photo finish, if that was going to be the final lap of the motor race. But Christian Rose is going to be side by side with Baker, and Rose has the inside line, gives him the position, and he's got himself the lead of the GTE division. Now, yes, on one hand, the two are fighting with each other, they're teammates. Still, though, it's worth noting that CQR are still 1, 2, and 3 in your GTE field, Cam.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a great performance here, as long as nobody has an issue with their fellow teammate, as Teemu Toika is trying to work his way around. And Teemu Toika, we haven't really had much time to talk about it. He's the leader of the race right now in the prototypes. So Teemu really wants to get a great finish here at the 2.4 hours of Daytona. No, not 2 hours and 40 minutes like my brain hole thought, but 240 or 224 or 2 hours and 24 minutes is that.
You're allowed to say 2 hours and 40 because, of course, that's what the iRacing measurement used to be. Yes. 2 hours 40 minutes back when this used to be a 2.4 hour race rather than a 24-hour race. We've been having a look. Andrei Raskovic versus Diego Merlo. One thing that is worth noting, and my voice just went really high there for some strange reason, is Teemu Toika is 20 laps into a stint. I'm doing the maths in my head right now. 20 minutes to go, including the white flag bit of it. It's going to be really close with Teemu Toika. They're doing a lap time to about 100 seconds around here. And it's going to be close as to whether or not they can make it to the end. I think Toika will stick it out as long as he can, and if he does have to come onto the lane, he'll come in for literally a 4-second dash.
Yeah, I'm not sure, as Diego Melro and Andrei Reichevic are right close to each other. According to my JRT timing thing, which is as close to my brain math gets, there is, according to this, 11.7 laps to go, because it's doing the whole estimates, so the whole mathematical calculatron beep boop bop doop bops. So it thinks that that therefore it will be a 32 to 33 lap stint for Teemu Toika, and I don't know if the Daytona prototype can do that high. I haven't seen anyone else really running lap high to that high, and I'm just not sure if there's enough actual fuel in the tank as Andrei Reichevic comes down pit lane. Yeah,
so Andrei is going to make himself his final service of the day, and I'm trying to remember my own maths, and it's 45 minutes a tank of fuel. I haven't got my phone with me to do a calculator moments, but they generally do 45 minutes on a tank of fuel, so it is going to be pushing it, I think, beyond the realms of reality, as Mikey Grems and Riley Thompson continuing their battle, Ferrari versus Ferrari. Although technically we wouldn't be calling it a Ferrari versus a Ferrari, we'd be calling it a something coarser, because Ferrari don't actually really like their name being utilized as much with endurance racing. It's always SF Course or something like that.
Something like that. I mean, Ferrari, they have factory-supported teams. I think that's the best way to do it. They're all factory-supported, but there is no Ferrari team. which to me is a bit disappointing, but, you know, hey, whoever knows, that whole hypercar doodad thingy, you never know what could be coming down the horizon, as Mickey Grem's trying to look perhaps to that inside line, see if he could get Riley to drive up the track. He's done it once, done it twice. Now under braking, there's a bit of hiccuping as, there we go, he's sorted it all out just in time to get on the binders, and Joshua Wolf has locked himself around. And for Joshua Wolf, I'm a bit surprised to see him 4 positions off that the lead there, or 3 positions off the lead. I was kind of hoping with how fast he was earlier, as he has now bumped with that Ferrari of Riley Thompson, and just like that, Mickey Grems takes that one. Hello, sir, thank you. But I was surprised Joshua Wolf not as front running as I thought he would be.
Yeah, there's replay of Riley Thompson. This is going to be a fantastic look on the exit of the International Horseshoe. A lot of these people, they do run all the way out on that extra piece of tarmac here at Daytona, but yeah, Riley Thompson had nowhere to go onto the grass. Thank you very much. The last time we had a works... It has.
It's gone back to Riley Thompson around a GT3 car. Fantastic, Will.
I was going to ask, the last time there was a works Ferrari in Le Mans, was it when they were having their big battles with Ford?
I know, because Porsche came after that. Because the Porsche Ferrari battle, I think, went into the 70s.
But was that a works? That was works Ferrari still.
I believe it was. And then in the 80s, everything kind of shifted because it started getting to the whole GTP thing. There might have been some Ferrari-powered GTP, not Ferrari-powered, but there might have been a Ferrari GTP car. As here comes Mikey Grems on the outside, perhaps a more articulated motorsport historian. In the 70s and 80s, as the bombshell motorsport car of Eric Mickey almost demolished the rear end of that Ferrari. But Mickey Grem's holding that outside line. It seems to me that whoever has that outside line just doesn't get it, as Stefan Wang has spun it and put it to the infield, which means he's going to be rejoining the track basically in front of this battle that we're seeing here.
Yeah, we've been having a look at Trivia Vavosky versus Darren Mintz as well, but we'll go back and have a look at this battle, and actually it's spread out a little bit more now. It's up to 1 second between Riley Thompson and Mickey Grems right now. That's a 4th place in class. Top 3 in each of your class coming up on the left-hand side of your screen. Toyka leading from Roos right now, but we believe that Toyka will have to come and make a service, as well as Chris Santizo in your prototype field. That means that Gabriel Roos will have a 20-second advantage over Joshua Wolf at the end of this one.
Yeah, it's been very interesting how this is sorted out, and it's really sorted out over the course of this race. This hasn't been a situation where there's been a big decision, or there's been a big situation where everyone had to make this grand decision. These are all planned strategies, and they're all coming to a head at a different time. That's what's interesting. 13 minutes and 50 some odd seconds to go here, and I gotta say, it's looking like we're gonna have some pretty dramatic finishes on the docket.
Yeah, Baker and Rose have been battling it out in terms of GTE. They are teammates, so that's the reason why we've been putting an asterisk next to this one. Christian Challoner does have the advantage now. He's been pulling away over David Van Broek in the GT3 field. Give you an update on Jordan Kaiser. Actually, it looks like he will finish off the podium, but it would take a miracle for Charles Winard to catch him up for 4th place in your GT3 field, Cam.
Yeah, definitely. Well, a miracle or an incident. Which, I mean, could be considered a miracle, just maybe not for the cars involved.
Yes.
But I think for GT3, it's been going fairly well. I haven't seen an "are you kidding me" moment from the GT3 cars, so that's always been a good thing to see. We've seen a lot of really hectic racing in the prototypes. Outside of that, excuse me, my brain needed oxygen. I don't know why, but it's been good to see these on and off battles between these GT3 cars and how they've kind of come through. But it's still interesting to me. There are 4 cars in GTE who are still running perfectly fine. but they're actually below the front-running GT3 cars. If that goes and tells you just how strong this GT3 field is.
Yeah, and there's what we're one of these right now, CQR Academy car of Matthew Webb. You notice the green swatch there. That means it is a GTE car, and then you've got the GT3 car during Kaiser ahead there as well. 41 seconds. This is why I say it was like a miracle for Giles Winard to really get himself up into 4th place in your GT3 class. Joshua Wolf versus Chris Santizo. This is for 3rd place on track. However, the caveat is we really don't think that Santizo can make it to the end of the event. So realistically, if you're Wolf, you're just waiting at this stage.
That's the best way to do, rather than really try to press the subject. I mean, you save fuel and just hold it there as Josh Wolf, of course, hovering a second behind. There is another prototype that you can see in there. However, that one is a couple of laps down, as that's Michael Lane, as he will end up having an issue. And Joshua Wolf will end up getting past, no problem, and then there's Chris Santizo splitting them. But other than that, as we're watching the replay now between Darwin Mentz and one of the bombshell cars.
Yeah, that was Trevor Vavorsky as they came in towards turn number 1. And Darren Mentz, as you can see in the number 72 car, has the advantage for the time being. It looks like Vavorsky went down to the inside into the International Horseshoe, but actually Darren Mentz was just able to take the outside line, use that extra little bit of the track, and as you see, as they come towards the kink, this is where you normally want to get single file. Mentz able to seal the deal for the moment, but that battle is far from over.
Yeah, and this has been going back and forth for some while, so it's been fantastic to watch, as Darwin Mentz is, of course, our leading car right now in this 2-car pack. As here comes Vavorsky. No, he does not want to do it. He doesn't want to presser it, but they will both just go to the inside of that boosted GT3 car of David Van Broek, who is pretty much running his own race at this point. Now they've got to go around the Audi of Ian Robson, who's in the 11th in GT3, and we've got somebody on pit lane.
Yeah, Eric Mickey, so we are right. These guys cannot go to the end. They can get close. Mickey, 8.3 second pit stop. He's actually going to come out very close around Diego Melro by the end of it, as he'll come off a pit road there. You can see there is actually, no, sorry, I take that back. That's actually a lapped car behind, ahead of the driver of Mickey. So actually what we do want to do is turn our attention over to Timo Toika right now, because we do expect him to be on pit road this time by. Don't forget, you can let us know how your 24 hours of Daytona went, how your weekend has gone, as Timo Toika will indeed come on towards pit road. He's coming down now, and you can see there's a new overall stop time. So you can get a social with us, /RaceWhatTV, like us on Facebook, @RaceWhatTV on Twitter. Let us know how your first big weekend worth of racing this year has been on iRacing, as Timo Toika going to come in. Again, expect this one to be around 8 to 10 seconds. For Team Bushwink Racing, just going to be fuel only, and he will be out and away now. And actually, he might still have second place. Wolf has just gone past.
Yeah, that was way too much fuel. He needed maybe 4 seconds, and then he crashes in the outside concrete barrier. That's even worse. So for Timo Toika, it is all going awry, and then he comes out in traffic.
Yeah, and for Timo Toika, I was going to say it might have been close between him and Joshua Wolf at the end of this one. Wolf is 12 laps into a stint, and I think he's pushing it to the absolute limit right now. Team Bushwink Racing's Timo Toika is going to be very angry after that one, and Cam, now he's got a lot of work to do.
Can Finnish people get angry?
Yes, trust me.
Okay, I'm not debating. I'm just okay. So for Timo, he gets to the inside of Michael Lane, and he'll get that position. Now, how much damage did that Corvette sustain? That you basically, when you lead into that concrete barrier, it's very notorious, because what ends up hitting it is that little like fiberglass carbon fiber front bumper. Sure, fine, whatever. But that collapses, and then that right front tire is what hits. So will he have some kind of steering damage? And I will say, will he be down on speed? Didn't look like it. You never know. As he runs through the bus stop, the car looks decent enough, but I just don't know if a decent enough car is going to be able to catch up and pass Joshua Wolf in a completely perfectly fine Daytona prototype.
Jamie Rushworth has caught up to the rear of Christian Rose in 2 QCR club cars, CQR even club cars. It's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen. But what I'm thinking is a gap between 1, 2, and 3 in class has come down. This might be a bit of a manufactured finish. I'll get to 5 minutes to go, Cam, and say, okay, let's just do ourselves a stage Audi-esque style finish to the end of this race.
You know, I don't believe so. The CQR club, these guys mostly are drivers who have raced with each other for a very long time, mostly in the Kia, kind of that touring car type of thing. So I would not be surprised if these guys don't end up exchanging bumpers at some point. I guess there is a larger Constructors Championship, only instead of Constructors, it's teams. But I have a feeling that perhaps, maybe, I would suggest that these two guys are going to want to, say, work together in a way to hunt down David Baker, so then they can have a 3-car battle for, well, the podium. Stunned silence.
Yep, we're just having a look on board there with Mickey Grams as he's been battling it out with Riley Thompson. The gap is down to 0.8 of a second right now as they come onto the banking. It was worth noting that for a moment Riley Thompson actually was able to get past a prototype car, but now as they go into the banking, of course, the prototype will accelerate away. Mickey Grams in within half a second. That's the thing. It's just a case of, I think, if Riley Thompson was able to get up to about 1.2, 1.4 seconds, he might just have this one in the bag of 5 to go.
Well, you never know. Riley has been making the occasional mistake when he seems to be comfortable or seems to have the pass. So, especially going in through corner number 1, ends up perhaps dragging the brake a little too late or maybe not hard enough, tracking away Ride. That's allowed Mickey to get that inside, Mikey to get that inside. So I have a feeling that this is just going to be one of those situations you don't want to risk having issues with only 5 minutes to go. You don't want to really expend your opportunities too early and allow a counterattack.
Yeah, gap is 0.3 of a second once again. To give you an update, it is this driver leading the way in your GT3 division. It is Christian Chandler there, but one of the prototype drivers just pushing very, very wide down at turn number 1. It's the Radicals Online 6 sideways Cranfield Simulation Joe Real Timing car that is leading out front. Christian is, get this, 15 seconds ahead of David Van Broek.
Yeah, definitely. And for David Van Broek, this has been what can you do? I mean, Christian Chalner is a very quick driver, and well, he's just been able to pull away a gap again and again and again in the Audi. So he's been able to keep it planted, able to keep it happy and okay, and off and away he is going into the sunset, really. This GT3 group has really sort of quieted out, I would suggest. But it's really the GTE that's getting ourselves set up for the grandstand finish. You've got the top 3, and then you've got this battle for what is 4th position in GTE as well. So pretty much the entirety of the top 5 is yet to be decided.
Back over to your prototype battle. Trevor Vavoski versus Darren Mentz. Now, Vavoski is close on fuel, but should be able to make it to the end. Timo Toika has pitted, and he has come out, as we said, in 3rd place. But that damage, I think, actually has cost him already. He's lost 4 seconds to Joshua Wolf, as Vavoski on the outside line, Darren Mentz on the inside line, side by side into turn number 1. Can the outside line work? It can almost work. He just needs to get a better run through this side. He has to run into the International Horseshoe. He's got himself through.
And just like that, a little bit of brake smoke from that bombshell car, but Trevor Vavorsky has moved himself up 1 position in that Grizzly Motorsport machine. He is now going to be in the 7th position. as he is a little bit too far back to do anything else with the rest of the race that we have here. We have about 2 laps to go, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, depending on where Gabriel Ruse is. Actually, Gabriel is just coming into corner number 1 right now, which means that should have about 2 laps to go. Yeah, so 2 to go is going to be your signal, and we've already seen these great battles. And GTE, however, the front 3 looks pretty stable right now.
Yeah, as that is your race leader overall. As they come down to 2 minutes of this race to go, they will see the white flag the next time by Gabriel Ruse, then going through the second of the horseshoes, and just turn ourselves back over to the ongoing battle between Mickey Grems and Riley Thompson. This is going to be, if you're intelligent and you're Mickey Grems, this is your check to see how close alongside he can get. He's not doing it, but it'd be worth checking to see if you can run that outside line into turn number 1 to actually see whether it can get past before the start-finish line. Having a look down, nothing going on in GT3 right now, so we're going to keep it for a moment with Mickey Grems and Riley Thompson one more time. That gap's just gone up though, because Mickey Grems has just pushed wide because the prototype's gone through, and that gap is going to be up to over 1 second now. Mickey Grems, the gap will be 1.2, will it? Well, it's just actually staying above a second, but it's worth noting that the car ahead, the Kinetic Racing car, couldn't find a way past Riley Thompson through the second horseshoe. And what that's going to mean is actually Grems will get the draft for a little bit, and he will stay in the draft. And you see how aggressive Thompson was going to be there. The gap is 0.7 of a second. Thompson thought that was his moment, and he pushed very hard, but Mickey Grems is still there in slingshot range.
Absolutely, and Gabriel Ruse, as the clock is now 30 seconds to go, is not going to be able to make it there in time. So this upcoming lap for Gabriel Ruse is going to be the white flag lap, which means we should have basically another lap and a half for this great Ferrari battle that we're seeing here, as everyone's getting into that mode where they know that they have to move, they have to attack. And so Mickey Grems, he is going to have, or Mikey Grems, excuse me, is going to have the entirety of the oval next lap to draft in close. So here we go. This is definitely not settled at all.
Yep, so here we go then. Final time into the bus stop chicane for Gabriel Ruse. As all he's got to do now is get on the brakes, turn it to the left, turn it to the right, right and then left one more time, and he now can go flat out to the end of this motor race. There's plenty of strategy that took part in this event. Timo Toika gets a podium by going ultra aggressive on his strategy, but it will be the number 14 machine who will be taking victory here in the first of the major series races on Racesport TV. Kinetic Europe, Gabriel Ruse are your overall winners here at Daytona International Raceway, and here we are. It is Gabriel Ruse who claims victory. He will be one happy man. We want to go back and see where David Baker is on track right now. He is just working himself through the exit of the bus stop, and we have got ourselves just turn 3 and 4 to go. We'll be intrigued to see whether or not he slows down to allow his teammates to come by in formation with him. It is going to be CQR Club 1, CQR Club 2, CQR Club 3 in terms of your GTE field as they come past the start-finish line. And while Baker says, you guys weren't fast enough, you do your flashy light thing, but wait until the cool-down lap in order to do anything in formation. Christian Challoner right now is just going to work himself to the end of the lap, as we have also got ourselves still the battle between Riley Thompson and Mickey Grems. We are going to bring that one to you in a moment's time, because actually no, we're going to go back to it now because they have had a change for position, and it was at the line Mickey Grems got it. We're going to get ourselves a replay of that one for you now. This is what happened as they ran themselves through NASCAR turn 3 and 4. Just see Mickey Grems coming for the photo finish, and he gets it by 36 1/1000ths of a second. So Grems ends up with 4th place, Riley Thompson in 5th, and there is your winner in GT3. it is Christian Challoner who comes home with the race victory here today. What a day it has been in this event, and well, what a race we have had as well. Overall, it is going to be Gabriel Roos with the race victory, and the donut session has already started down at the bus stop chicane. And we're going to bring you now your final race results, and we're going to start off with the team. With the team? I know what I mean, really. We're going to say with the prototype fielders. There are the donuts by your overall race winner, Gabriel Roos, down at the bus stop chicane. Here's your final race results. And Roos gets victory then by a big margin at the end. Kinetic Europe will claim victory over Joshua Wolf by 20.3 seconds at the end. Team Budgeting Racing's Timo Toika was ultra aggressive on strategy, comes home in 3rd place. Matthias Magnusson in 4th, Chris Santizo in 5th, Darwin Mintz in 6th. Trevor Vavoski for Grizzly Motorsports in 7th, of course, having that battle all the way through the end with the likes of Mintz, and they were only separated by 3/10 of a second at the end. Diego Merlo in 8th place, Diego Jimenez Hormelia in 9th, and Andrei Makovic rounds out your top 10. There's the remainder of the results through on your screen. Note that we had 12 people finish on the lead lap today, and 15 drivers scored within a lap of your race winner. Let's go back and let's have a look now at your GTE results. And it's going to be David Baker who leads home his teammates Christian Rose and Jamie Rushworth, making it a CQR Club 1, CQR Club 2, CQR Club 3. Mikey Grems in 4th place, Riley Thompson in 5th, Yalva Verde in 6th place, with Ashley Blake Hood being the first non-Ferrari. He comes home 7th place in GTE, David A. White in 8th, Robert Lundgren in 9th, and Shane Norton rounding out your top 10. Note, you only had 5 drivers finish on the lead lap in class. That shows the dominance of CQR Club here today. And we had pretty much everyone finish the race as well, in terms of finishing within the 10% rule. Finally, we go over to GT3, and it is Kinetic Europe's Christian Challoner who takes home victory. 15.7 seconds then was the margin of victory. David Van Broek in 2nd place, Marcus Nishkanen in 3rd, Durin Kaiser in 4th, Giles Winand in 5th place, Enrico Lindhart in 6th, Clifton Naranjo in 7th, Andy Banfield 8th, Stefan Wang at 9th, and Jan Melisner finishes off your top 10. Just 2 drivers on the lead lap in GT3, but it was an Audi and a Mercedes, your top 2 drivers. 2 Mercedes on the podium. Then there's the remainder of the results. Actually, the biggest victims in terms of retirees came from GT3. They included Thomas Pettersson, John Paquin, David H. Baker, and Russell Clayson. We're going to take a quick moment here, ladies and gentlemen, on the Major Series webcast, and we're going to have some interviews after these messages. You are watching the Major Series exclusively live on the iRacing eSports Network. We'll be back in 1 moment's time. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to post-race coverage from the Major Series. And you saw the eNASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series as well as the Porsche World Championship Series, $100,000 worth of prize money on the line. Catch the entirety of the World Championship Series here live only on RaceSpot TV. Got a couple of people to talk to. We've got ourselves some people from Prototype as well as from GT3. Let's start off by talking to second place then in your Prototype field. That was Joshua Wolf in the number 48 car. Joshua, second place here today. It looked to be a very strategic race at points. Talk us through your events.
Yeah, it was good. I was a little tired after finishing out the last 3 hours of the 24. So that was, I was trying to get as much rest as possible in between that and this race. And I don't know what, I'm guessing that it was just the shorter stints or something that Ruse did that got him that win. I don't, it looked like I was pretty much keeping pace with him, and I don't know. I'm guessing just that early stop helped him out get a bigger lead than I was expecting.
So, first race of this series, 2019, is in the books. How was it experiencing driving into the sunset in this one?
That was exciting. I did a little bit, I don't know if I was in there for the 24, but I've done a lot of practice with this, and it's definitely cool. I enjoyed it and glad iRacing was able to get this feature added in.
Before we let you go, Joshua, two questions. First of all, Daytona 500, the next big event in the Major Series. Also, shout out sponsors, who gets it done?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 500. And for sponsors, Infinity Decals. How it shows probably on Majors. I'm independent. I'm actually running with Torque Freak, so I want to thank those guys for the setup, and also help with from the Grizzly guys too. We've done a lot of work prepping for the 24 in this race, and definitely showed.
Thank you very much. That is second place in your Prototype class. That is the driver of Joshua Wolf. And now we've got Ken Walsh stood by with the driver who took victory in GT3. That is Christian Challoner.
Yes, the Audi coming home with the victory here in the 2.4, despite the Mercedes being so dominant in the 24 hours. So, Christian, it seemed like it was a pretty good day for you out there. There were a couple of moments where people were closing in on you, a couple of different strategies kind of thrown at you, but really, nothing really could stop you.
Yeah, it was. I kind of made it a bit harder than I think it needed to be by picking the Audi, but I really wanted to do something different. So I was really happy that I could pull that off with that car. Yeah, at the beginning, I was really trying to get away because I thought that if I could perhaps lose the draft, then I might be able to make something work. But I couldn't really get away from Russell or John. But then I guess bit of luck. Sucks for Russell, but it helped me out when he got tagged by that prototype in a 1. And then from there on, really, it was strategy. I was pretty convinced that doing a double stint on the tyres for the first run wasn't really going to work. So I wasn't too surprised when I saw John come out with about, I think, 30 seconds on me after that first stop. But I think he struggled with the tyres, and I think he dropped it. So once those two were out, really, it was kind of mainly just making sure that the strategy played out, that I didn't overwork the tyre too much, and that I kind of had enough left at the end. And it got a bit interesting. There was a couple of people who spun out right in front of me, but from really about the halfway point, it was kind of really just a strategy race.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the start of the Major Series. We've had the Daytona 2.4, the Daytona 500, not that far away. That'll be in February. So, well, we're staying at Daytona, but we're going to turn that big old light bulb back in the sky and getting a bunch of Gen 6 cars. So, are you going to be looking forward for that?
Yeah, I mean, that's really a race that we're looking at, because there's, well, for a couple of reasons really. One, it's really the thing that I'm best at, so it's probably a good chance to get some good points, even though it is Daytona. And I mean, secondly, it's running a couple of days before the peak race, so really it's a great test race for us.
So there you go. With that, Christian, I'll give you the floor. And anybody you want to give a thanks to before we let you go back and celebrate? And congratulations again on taking victory here in the Major Series Daytona 2.4.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to all the Radicals Online guys. I had a really good weekend, especially with a lot of racing we did. We did GT Pro 24 yesterday and now this today. So a really big thanks to those guys for working on setups and everything and helping me out the whole time. Plus all our sponsors, Cranfield Simulation, JRT, Armour, Six Sideways, Turn, MOATF Podcasts, Immortal, and Pixel Dust.
All right, there you go. Expertly done, Christian. And with that, congratulations, and we'll see you later.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Christian Challoner. And we've got two more people to interview. They are both from Club CQR Club. David Baker and Christian Rose. I'm going to start with you, David Baker, coming home with a victory here today in that number 6 machine. Looks as though the CQR Club had this one nailed.
Yeah, we put in a lot of work running the 24, so thought we'd just do a little sprint race afterwards. We had some great help from everybody in the team, Josh Thompson, Dan Kraft, Andy Shield, loads of guys behind the scenes helping us with the setup for the big race and then obviously carrying it through to this. So yeah, a lot of work went into this and it was good to bring home the win. It wasn't easy, teammates pushed me all the way, a few mistakes and the traffic was a bit iffy at times, but yeah, really pleased to bring it home.
Well, in terms of, having to run a 24-hour race and then run into the darkness again, and of course it is dark in the UK right now, so it's almost sympathetic to you guys. How was it in terms of taking what you knew from the 24 hours and putting it into this event?
It was a bit tricky because I actually didn't do any of the nighttime running. I got the daytime stints when the track was really, really hot, so it caught me out on lap 2 coming into turn 1. I almost binned it and took out the whole team, which would have been embarrassing. So going into the sunset and actually into night was actually a bit of a new one for me in this race, so I was glad to experience it. And
Christian Rose came home 2nd place. Christian, talk us through your event.
Yeah, no, it was really good fun. This is my first major series event. I must say I really enjoyed it. It's very well organised. The race itself was fantastic. I always seem to end up very, very close to Dave. We always have a good, fair, hard race, and then Jamie with us at the end. It was very tough to say after doing quite a lot of running in the 24 as well. It was quite relaxing just to do a few hours really.
Well, before I let you both go, one of you can do the sponsors for both of you. Who gets it done for you?
Christian.
Okay. Just like to thank everyone within CQR ourselves, everyone who took part in the 24, Mark Russell at Race Hub, and everyone else. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you both. That is all we have time for, except for us to also say our own thank yous. As ever, it's from Ballout TrackCams22.com, Andreas Warner, and One Design for overlay design development by Simon Grossman, Aptioneering.com, and Nick Thyssen for RaceSpot TV, live timing and scoring. We'll be back on air in 1 hour and 15 minutes for the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulations. So I'm going to take a quick break. Thank you very much from Cam, Walsh, Connery Maddock, and myself. This has been the Major Series, and for the 2nd time today, I can say good night from Daytona.